All right, we get it rolling on the Krug Show after Niner football. Well, the 49ers lose the Super Bowl. Man, what a rough game that was to watch. Welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots. We're also brought to you by Marin Auto Glass and Underdog Fantasy. And our Super Bowl trip to Las Vegas sponsors this week were Sharp Corner Sports Goods and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove. Give Anthony Catania a call at 831-521-5264. And also we are brought to you by Valley Hill Roofing.net, 209-481-6851. The links to both companies are in the description. And thanks to them for sponsoring the Krug Show and our week that was in Las Vegas. As we welcome in Kev, and we got Baller in the house, Danny, Rye, maybe later on JD, maybe later on Damon. We'll see how it goes. Guys, where do you start? What a long season this has been. I'll just say this. Mahomes did it when everybody in the building thought he was going to do it, but the Niners also had a muffed punt. The Niners had a missed PAT. The Niners defense gave up 455 total yards to Mahomes. So it wasn't like there was no blame to go around. There was plenty of blame, but Brock Purdy got his drive in the fourth quarter, in the overtime, and led them down the field. And it was great to see, but unfortunately they had to settle for the field goal. And when you settle for the field goal in that situation, you're going to wind up potentially giving Mahomes a chance to come back and beat you. And sure enough, Mahomes did. So what can you say? Mahomes, Kelsey, Reed, their dynasty. It was a great call at the end, the 3-yard pass to McCole Hardman in overtime. It was either going to be one of those things where if Hardman was covered, Mahomes was just going to run for it. And instead, the defender popped out on him, so he threw it to Hardman, and the Chiefs get a 25-22 victory, and we get things rolling on the Krug Show. Who wants to go first? Kev, you want to jump in? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. It's really tough. The fumbled punt was really a killer. Give him the ball right in the 10, and it's hard. It's Mahomes did Mahomes things. He drove them down. The defense, they really missed Dre Greenlaw on that last drive. I don't know what to say. It's tough loss from the Niners.
Baller, go ahead.
Yeah, the botched punt changed the game. At that point, it was 10-6. The Chiefs, they hadn't put one in the end zone yet. That was an absolute game changer. Disappointing. Luter, you got to vacate the area. All right, Peter means get out of the way, and it didn't happen. That was the game changer. But I got to look at the offense. All right, 19 points after 4 quarters is not going to get it done in the Super Bowl, and it's been talking about already. Kyle didn't run the ball those first 2 possessions out of half. It's pass. And I know they weren't running it that well, but I would have liked them to see them go back to what they did on that first drive before Christian McCaffrey coughed it up. Offensive Player of the Year. That was a punch to the gut. I felt like if we would have got some points there, it felt like the Niners would have pulled this one out. But the offense didn't get it done. To beat the Chiefs, you got to play a clean game. And that was – someone's got some background noise going on. But
is there an ad going, Larry?
To beat the Chiefs, you got to play a clean football game. It didn't happen. It was only 6 penalties, but you got to play clean football. Trent had a few, a couple on that second drive that made it 2nd and 27. And what I thought, I don't know if you guys saw the same thing, but I didn't think the Niners had enough answers for Spags blitzes. felt like Purdy was running for his life a lot of this game, and he was making some
baller,
plays.
you're absolutely cooking right now, but someone's mic sounds terrible. It's like a rattle. Are you guys hearing that?
Yeah.
Okay. We're good.
Yeah, I don't think it's me, but I don't think Kyle had enough answers for the blitz. I thought Purdy was running for his life. He was still making plays, but it wasn't enough. The defense, while I thought the defense played good, I thought there were a couple blitzes. There was a 3rd and 6 in overtime where Wilkes sent the house, and at that point, I do not think that was the right call. Just a couple calls I disagree with, but my big takeaway, I'm disappointed in the offense. Niners had to put up more points than 19 after 4.
Rye, what jumped out to you?
I'm like weirdly a little bit zen after this one because there was a lot of ways this one could have went that would have made this a lot worse. I'm like kind of proud of Purdy. Like, he came back and was awesome in the second half of the last 2 games. I thought Purdy just played with like guts the entire game. And some of those plays, like it really sucks because they're not going to get remembered. But I mean, those were 2 essentially game-winning drives he had there at the end of the 4th and then into overtime. Specifically, that one he got to use check for the first down was so sick. And man, it was just devastating because it just comes down to it's 3rd and 4. And blows the play up just like he always does. The guy, I mean, I'll take him for my money over Aaron Donald any day of the week. The guy is just an absolute stud. All he does is make monster plays in monster moments of the playoffs. And, it was that small of a difference between that, a touchdown to Jennings, or even he screwed up the touchdown that probably would have been a touchdown pass to Debo. But overall, I mean, this game, it really sucks because it's just a few things here or there. It was the fumble. It was the missed PAT. It was the off the foot. It was Kansas City recovering a couple fumbles. It's like I can't really I can't really get mad at anybody. I was really surprised with the way the Steve Wilkes defense showed up. I mean, where was that defense last 2 games? They showed up. That Dre Greenlaw goes out and the boys are still flying to the ball. It stopped. Eventually the dam kind of broke. And if you look at the yardage, it looks bad. A lot of that is like, Mahomes kind of moving up and down the field towards the end of the game. And it's just that horrible sort of helpless feeling because it's not just Mahomes, right? They just got to get the ball to the freaking 50 because Butker is so goddamn nails. Like I'm pissing my pants. Like they have to get this thing to the 20 for the 49ers for me to feel comfortable with a Jake Moody field goal. And it's like, once they get to like the 50, it's Butker range. And, it was just a tragic thing. They lost to just an absolutely worthy foe. I don't feel like Kyle wiltered. I mean, big fucking nuts on the table for that 4th and 3 call. That was sick, to get the touchdown there. Yeah. I don't feel like Kyle choked. I don't feel like Purdy choked. Debo and Ayuk, that's one thing is for everybody saying, all the weapons. Yeah, they do have a lot of weapons. Debo, you get the ball in that guy's hands. He is a monster truck, and Ayuk has some of the prettiest footwork in the league. He gets open, but like Ayuk's good for, 4 balls a game, 5 balls a game. But like Snead and McDuffie had them boys in clamps. You didn't see any separation, and it seemed like the 49ers offense was kind of stifled. Like they couldn't really do what they wanted to do. And I think all things considered, when you talk about Spags maybe being the greatest big game coordinator of all time, that defense, we got to give credit to the Chiefs defense. I mean, they haven't allowed 30 all year. They were I think they were just the superior team today. It just really sucks. Just that final Mahomes. I don't know. I still don't. Maybe I'm still in shock, but I'm not too doom and gloom. I kind of accept it. It just is what it is.
Danny, go ahead. What'd you think?
Well, like Rai said, I don't feel like there's a lot of blame to be passed around. The muffed punt. I don't know if Luter even heard Ray, in that loud of a stadium, and he was a good 10, 15 yards. Who knows? I don't know if he heard it late, but that's a kind of a fluke thing that happened. The fumbles by McCaffrey was kind of offset by Pacheco, so that's kind of a wash. You can say, well, the Niners were going to score and go up, but then Pacheco fumbled at the 5.
I disagree. That's the offensive player of the year. I mean, fumbles happen, but
yeah,
that's brutal.
it happens. But here's where I'm looking at 2nd and 4 in overtime. Ball's on the 9-yard line. Debo goes in motion to the left. McCaffrey's getting 4 to 6 yards a chunk every time he goes to the left off of Williams. The play was there again. He goes to the right and gets stuffed for nothing. 3rd and 4. McKivitz just lets Jones. McKivitz didn't pick up Jones, who was right in front of him. Kittle chipped somebody before going out, and Burford picked up his guy. Jones had a free path to Purdy, who had to just throw it away. But if you watch the play again, Ayuk was wide open in the middle of the field in the end zone. No one was within 10 yards. But because he didn't pick up Jones, he didn't have time to even see Ayuk. So I think that was a missed coverage on McKivitz, because it was, I don't know why he stepped out to the right and he who am I supposed to block? And Jones just ran right through. I watched it 5 times. I was just like, oh my goodness. And I know you kind of got to go for the field goal there, because if you don't score, then the Chiefs only need a field goal. But my goodness, when you give Mahomes the ball to win the game is what you don't want to do. And
they just shot themselves. They shot themselves in the foot too many times. I mean, that's just basically it. Their defense had only given up 1 touchdown to the Chiefs on a 16-yard drive at the end of regulation. I mean, it's
that wasn't even a drive. That was the McCaffrey fumble, and there was 1 play touchdown.
Yeah. So
can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear
all right. Part of the reason why I didn't have a take in the beginning is because there was terrible echo, so my mic was all fucked up. But Danny, you're right. I think the play of the game the play that people will keep replaying for the next few months is that play where Chris Jones goes unblocked. He goes unblocked and forces Purdy to basically just throw it away. And I'm just going to show it. We might get flagged for this, but I feel like everyone has to see this, because this is just I don't know what McKivitz.
Just keep the sound down. You'll be all right.
Yeah, this is McKivitz here. Look at this. This is Jones lining up right here, I believe. And you can watch McKivitz on this play. I'll turn the sound off. McKivitz right here.
And oh my God.
I told you. It's just awful. Look at McKivitz.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It looks like Kittle's going for a release.
Look at Ayuk. Look at Ayuk.
There was 3 options. There was 3 options.
Yeah, watch Ayuk. He beats his man, and look at him. Look at Ayuk. He's just no one around.
I'm not sure what McKivitz's assignment was here, but you just let Chris Jones get a free rush at the quarterback. His back is basically to Chris Jones. Just that.
I mean, and if we know it's an all-out blitz, why is Kittle even checking releasing? Just stay in line and block. Spags has been sending the house. Let's block, 6 or 7 dudes.
Anyways, yeah. That might be the play that gets replayed.
Oh, that is
frustrating.
Tragic.
Frustrating game for sure. I'll say this on that one too. It's like McKivitz is supposed to block the inside guy. If you don't know which guy to block, inside or outside, you take the inside guy.
Always, it's a straight path.
Yeah. So but it's there's obviously a miscommunication there. He wouldn't have passed off the inside guy to nobody. He must have felt
it was a blown coverage.
Must have felt like somebody was supposed to pick that up, but there's no question, win, lose, or draw, the line of scrimmage is where the offseason points to at this point. I mean, both offensively and defensively. Chase Young played inspired. I thought he played with his heart, hair on fire. I thought the Niner D-line played really, really hard at times, but the D-line wasn't good enough, and the offensive line, needs to be upgraded as well. So, I mean, those are the 2 areas that come to mind. But this one, I just think of as, man, the 49ers could have won this game, but they shot themselves in the foot. It's not just who makes the most plays, it's who avoids making the most mistakes. And I think Kansas City got by the last 2 rounds just because the teams that they played last year, 2 weeks ago, Baltimore, and tonight the Niners, just made more mistakes than they made. So
I thought Kansas City made a lot of mistakes today. I mean, just like tossing balls, Pacheco misses the ball. And then how about Scantling catching that ball in OT, and he's like got it 2nd and 2, and he runs backwards and ends up losing 12 yards from where he caught it.
Capitalizing on turnovers would have been huge in this game. They got the first interception in Mahomes' last, I don't know, maybe ever in the postseason.
3 and out.
It was a 3-and-out punt. So
yeah, it was a rough game. I mean, I just looked at the turnovers and I thought, okay, if the 49ers maybe are +1 or +2, I think they've got a real chance to win. They were even in this game, and they made just enough mistakes. I mean, you leave a point on the board on the missed PAT that burns you at the end of regulation, and then the muffed punt, which looked like it was on Ray, but in reality, it was not on Ray. It was on the rookie Luter. Those are huge game changing mistakes. I thought overall they did a nice job. The defense made a number of plays early on, but man, if you said give me the number one reason they lost this game, I hate to say it, I just really think that the loss of Greenlaw. You lose a player like that. That's a great player, and they needed to keep him healthy somehow, and they couldn't. And they got to this part at the end of the year, and Flanagan Fowles made a couple of nice plays, and Burks tried hard, but they lacked some quality depth. They lost Aziz. They didn't.
I thought Burks was late to the flat a few times, where they're giving easy completions to the flat. They're turning upfield. They're getting 7, 8, 9 yards, where you feel like Greenlaw is there to make a tackle for a minimum gain.
I agree. Jair Brown played really well in this game. But there's going to be a ton of turnover on the D-line. There's going to be some additions made on the O-line. It sounds like Trent Williams wants to come back and play another 2 or 3 years, so he'll be back. They've got the extension for Ayuk and all that coming up. But, man, very frustrating loss because you kind of felt like they were the better team. At least I did. I don't know. How'd you guys feel about the matchup today?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs were the better team. I think the Chiefs, coming in, I thought the Chiefs were the better team. Better defense. I mean, they have all-world corners. They have a better. I think in terms of when you get deep into the playoffs, especially these big games, the interior pressure is where it's at. And just Chris Jones and those guys, I think that their defense was definitely better. Their special teams, which nobody talks about. I mean, having Butker, it's like having Justin Tucker. He's automatic. The guy literally doesn't miss inside of 60. It just doesn't happen. And then when you consider Spags versus Wilkes, and then it's okay, so maybe the Niners have maybe a scheme advantage on offense with the way they run things. But ultimately, I mean, they have Patrick Mahomes. They have the best quarterback in the league. So.
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that says this after they lose, but I never really felt good about this game this entire week. It's just because of Patrick Mahomes, and what do you know? Patrick Mahomes does Patrick Mahomes things. That last drive, he did the classic run up the middle for a huge killer first down. And that
question for you guys: do you think Kyle took the ball in overtime because the defense he thought maybe was tired?
Definitely,
because. They were running the ball
that
on
in the
him.
presser. He answered that question in the presser.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
He said they received the ball because they want to get that ball the third time. Because if they score a TD, Chiefs score a TD, next score wins. They wanted the ball first for that third possession.
That makes sense.
Field goal. It's Niners ball. Field goal wins it.
Right. Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, interestingly, Mahomes said in the post game that they were going to defer if they won the toss. They wanted to have that 4 downs of knowing what they needed to do.
I mean, it
Which
felt
is kind
pretty
of how it played out.
unstoppable, right? Like it felt like, okay, they have 4 downs to get every first down, and they just have
Right.
to get to the 50-yard line. Like it just was so quick.
I think
I
if
mean,
the Niners would have scored,
I disagree a little bit with just the notion that the Chiefs looked like the better team out there. I thought in the first half the Niners dominated, and the score didn't even completely reflect how much they were
Yeah.
dominating. Like that needed to be like a 17-point lead at half.
Mm.
But due to whether it's the CMC fumble or whatever it was, but at halftime, the Niners felt like they were in control of that game. The second half, things did kind of shift, and once it went to overtime, I started getting nervous, especially when Debo pulls his hammy. He didn't look like he was 100%.
no, he couldn't cut. He couldn't.
There
cut
was just a
very
lot
good.
of adversity the Niners had to overcome in this game, and they couldn't overcome it.
Yeah, I also felt like the Niners, when they were driving and they were running the ball in overtime, I don't know why you just abandoned the left side, because they couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop it, the Chiefs. So I would have just kept pounding, over Williams, and you had Debo leading on a in motion, so he could be a lead blocker. They tried to do that misdirection, and it worked with Mitchell. Mitchell came in for the one run and got 3-4 yards to the right side, but they didn't run well to the right side of the line as much as they did the left side. It seemed like they were just pounding the Chiefs, and they couldn't stop them on the left side much. And I would have just stuck with it, because they were moving the ball. It was 2nd and 4th and 9-yard line. Get that first down. They got it to the 5. They're going to punch it in. And now the question is now there's a whole different type of pressure on Mahomes. Because once Mahomes got it to the 35-yard line, it was like, okay, we got this at least tied. There's no pressure on him. It's like, let's just move it and go for the touchdown. There was no pressure at all on the 35-yard line once they got there.
I felt like the Niner D-line also. I mean, if you watch this game closely, I felt like they got held a bunch, and it just didn't get called in this game.
Not one.
It was another one of those frustrating games where I felt like their D-line got held. Let's hit.
I tweeted out a play on that too, Larry. There was
Did
one
you?
where Javon Hargrave just gets. I mean, he gets hugged.
Yes, I saw that.
He gets hugged while Patrick Mahomes is able to escape out, through the left side and make a play. There was in overtime on the 3rd and 6 where Wilkes sent the house, which I would have disagreed with, but nonetheless, he sent the house. Looked like Jerick McKinnon just tackled Fred Warner. He didn't even try to block him. He just wrapped him up. So those were a couple plays. I agree with you, Larry.
I thought it was a vintage performance from the 49ers defensive line until the end of that game. Lots of good sacks. I thought Hargrave actually, stopped some runs. He that was kind of his thing that was coming to this game. And he wasn't stopping the run, but he had a couple key stuffs.
I mean, we've given the D-line a lot of flack, the last couple of months, but I thought they showed up today. Nick Bosa, 10 pressures. Like, Bosa was awesome. Armstead was making plays. Randy Gregory threw the left tackle around. Like, the D-line showed up. They're not the reason the Niners came up short today.
Bosa was awesome.
It seemed like there was one play where they called the timeout that Wilkes and Shanahan were disagreeing about a call. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. I don't know if that was indeed the case, but
I think the D-line got really tired on that last drive because there was just no pressure towards the end. Towards the end, Mahomes had so much time in the pocket.
Right.
Let's get through some of these. Loner Incognito says, wish this could be a better SC, but it's
Super chat.
Oh, super chat, but it is what it is. Niners did what they did, but not enough. Well, no doubt. Mochi Aye says this is why Luter doesn't play more. Oh, come on. That was special teams play. Gold Rush, Shanahan refuses to run the ball. He did get a little pass happy in this game. Juan Camilo, don't understand how the Bucks beat Mahomes so easily. Loser Incognito, this one is hard to blame anyone, but this came down to either team, and unfortunately it was not the Niners. Ready, set, rush, absolutely brutal game. We had possession after possession and didn't score enough with all the opportunities they got. They botched a PAT. That gave them a chance for overtime, and it cost San Francisco. Purdy extended so many drives. He's 100% the guy. Yeah, Purdy looked pretty good. He definitely did not, they didn't win, but he wasn't the reason they didn't win.
I'll say this about the extra point. Could it have cost him? Possibly. But I think the outcome I don't think we would have seen overtime if Mahomes needed a field goal. I think he probably would have punched it in there with about 10 seconds left, and the Niners would have been really. I was just happy they went for the field goal with 6 seconds left. I was just like, please don't throw a touchdown because 2 more seconds left, 1 more chance. I think, very strong possibility Mahomes figures a way to get that in.
Purdy is not the problem. I thought he played well today. He
played well.
Defense is legit. You got to give them props. But the play on the final drive where he escaped the pressure and then threw to Juszczyk.
Oh my God.
Beautiful
It was
play.
awesome.
Oh,
There was a bunch of pressure like that. That was, Purdy was under duress. That's where that's probably my biggest criticism of Kyle was I don't think they game planned enough answers for the Spags blitzes. It felt like it really threw them off. And like Purdy had to make a couple of these improvisational plays, make a guy miss, escape the pocket on the run and throw it. So Kyle,
I thought Purdy had a few.
Maybe look at some answers to beat the blitz.
I thought also, there was a couple plays where you just got to tip your hat to the Chiefs. I thought that one ball to Debo in the end zone was an absolute dime. It just was perfect coverage. Ayuk had one like that too.
I think if there was a problem schematically, there wasn't a good enough passing game. People weren't open. They didn't scheme them open well enough. I don't think that they should have ran the ball more. The CMC ran for 3.6 a carry, and they ran 31 times to 24 passes.
Yeah.
He on that last drive, CMC was doing some vintage stuff. Maybe they should have ran it on that, one of those last downs, but I don't think there was a lack of running in this game.
Now, there might have been a lack of Debo overall, but I don't know if I can blame Shanahan. I mean, Debo had 3 carries for 8 yards. They threw it to Debo 11 times. He only caught it 3 of the 11 times.
Yeah.
So there's 8 misconnections there somehow, some way on somebody.
I have a question.
Jawan Jennings needed to rock more.
Yeah.
I mean, Jawan Jennings was balling out there. I thought he was spectacular.
Well, how do you not sign him now coming back?
You got to sign him. I would even consider signing him, and I don't know if you can trade a Debo, but Debo's kind of starting to show a lot of soft injury.
Got to sign Ayuk too.
That's what I mean. You got to sign Ayuk. I don't know if there's a player in the draft out there that's young. It could do some of the things Debo does. I don't know. I got a question.
Kyle will take a running back in the third.
I got a question for you guys. So there was 2 plays. One, the Pacheco, they said it was a fumble and it went right forward to the guy's hands. We didn't get a good replay of it, but it sure looked like he kind of tossed it forward, didn't it?
Whoa, yeah.
That was wild.
That was a forward lateral.
Yeah, why didn't Kyle
I think that was Rashee Rice.
Or Rice, yeah, but why didn't Kyle throw the red flag on that?
Was it a
What was up with
forward or
that?
was it a lateral?
It was a forward.
I mean, it looked like he pushed it forward.
Yeah,
Was he behind the line of scrimmage though?
Doesn't matter. Oh yeah, it would.
No,
he
it
wasn't
does
behind the line.
I don't know what the
Yeah,
rule. He
yeah.
fumbled it, and then as he was fumbling it, he threw it to someone.
I
Yeah.
thought it was still a lateral though. You can
No,
lateral
it was
it.
forward.
That was
It was
forward.
forward.
That went
Well,
forward.
they missed that.
I'll try to pull it up.
Yeah.
You can't throw a forward
Please.
pass when you're behind.
Yeah,
the scrimmage.
and Kyle, I'm like, throw the flag, throw the red flag. Secondly, there was another play, and I'm not sure of the rule on this, but intentional ground. Mahomes was starting to run forward in the pocket, and he was getting tackled. It was late in the game. He threw it down the middle of the field. It could have possibly been picked off by a Niner, but no Chief that I saw in the picture was even close. And I'm like, isn't that grounding? He was trying to avoid a sack. I mean,
That was a good point. I know what play you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
there were
and
two
I didn't
Niners there,
see-
no Chiefs.
yeah. And I'm like, why is that not grounding?
Okay,
Both-
just in defense, there's some people that are like, "Oh, here comes the whining." I will say, trying to be as like, obviously I'm a Niners fan. It did seem like the Niners got some like pretty generous spots. Like it seemed like there was a couple times where the Chiefs might have gotten first downs, and they kind of called it short, and it ended up working out. So
Senior softball game says Mahomes is on his way to being the GOAT. Justin Cheeseman says, hey, we're going to run it back because it works. 3 fails.
I mean, we got closer.
Oh, my God. Ready, set, rush. This show has gotten me through a lot this season. I traveled from Arizona to Vegas, and all the fans here are absolutely devastated. All of you guys have been great. Thanks for an incredible season, guys. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. KOSZG says, McCaffrey had 14 more rushing yards than Mahomes. That's a coaching failure. Ready, set, rush. Kevin's doppelganger. There you go. He's in Tucson. Carlos Quiros says, bunch of losers, man. Been a fan since 1988. Why did Shanna can't run 3 possessions in the third? What's the argument? Blow this team up. Niners did get away from the run game in the third quarter. They got very pass happy. Flavor _ reborn restorations. Let's keep it 150. They run the ball, they win. Well, they did run the ball quite a bit. I mean, it wasn't like the Niners didn't run. They had 31 runs and 39 passes. They probably should have had maybe 39 passes and 39 runs and 31 passes, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, they did 31 runs is a lot of runs, even in an overtime game. I mean, it's a passing game. The Chiefs had 46 passes and 30 runs. Niners had 39 runs, 31 passes. You can always say you want to see more McCaffrey. I want to see them run more effectively than they ran. Eloy Rodriguez says, I finally figured it out. We have our own Kyle McCarthy. We need someone to get us over the hump. This is on Kyle. Okay.
Offense scored 19 points, man.
Yeah.
After 4. That ain't getting it done.
That's not enough. KOSZG, fire Colton McKivitz. Okay. Daza says there are lots of plays you can point to, but I think we lost the game in the third quarter. Look what CMC did in overtime. Why couldn't we do that in the third?
Well, if you remember in OT, like the pass game is kind of what opened up the run game almost. Like it felt a little, I kind of understood what Kyle was trying to do. Like it's, if you just run it right into the line, all of a sudden you're 2nd and 10, and then it's, which I know you could say, well, if that's the same thing as if there's an incompletion. But I saw what they were trying to do. They were trying to kickstart the offense.
I mean,
That's
it
been their
lined
bread and
up.
butter all year.
They had the game lined up there at the end of the game. I mean,
Yeah.
If you get one more first down, you can run the clock out almost and kick a winning field goal at the end of the game. They just couldn't execute on third down.
And both of those times, that time and then the end of the game, it came down to like Purdy didn't even have a chance. He didn't even have a chance. He had pressure in his face, did good to get rid of the ball.
Yeah,
What I didn't like on that first drive, the Niners drove down the field on that first drive, right? And McCaffrey had a few nice runs, but I loved the motions that they were using on that first drive, right? They were using the ghost motions, right? Kind of spreading out that Chiefs defense, and McCaffrey was running it up the gut. I felt like he got away from those ghost motions, and implementing that along with the McCaffrey runs. That would have been something I wish he would have went back to, because it worked extremely effectively on that first drive, driving down.
I'm looking at a lot of the comments. Understandably, people are disappointed, upset, angry, but all the comments about blow this team up, Kyle sucks, this, that, he blew it. I mean, you're playing against this champion, the Chiefs, the 3 out of the last 5 years now. It was an excellent game. It was I don't think any team so much lost the game as Mahomes won it. I don't see that the Niners just like choked here. Could they have done a couple things? Yeah.
I mean, the better team won. There's no doubt. They made the plays. I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, fans are always going to have that knee-jerk reaction. I mean, you drink a lot. You have it's on Kyle. It's on this. It's on that. It's not as simple as that. They lost by 3. There was a lot of game point plays in this game. To me, the special teams mistakes really are glaring. Right, those things really stand out. But they just didn't quite have enough tonight. I mean, they just didn't quite have enough. They didn't, Greenlaw would have helped a lot. He wasn't there. They just kind of ran out of gas a little bit. They came close.
I mean, I got to laugh at people saying, shut up, Dan, Kyle sucked and this and that. You know what? If you play a game, you realize the competition it's a battle. It's a battle, and both teams are fighting. And the dang thing went 5 quarters, and we barely, had the
longest game of all time.
Almost the longest, yeah. But I mean, are there things that could have happened? Yeah, but you also got to realize, Kyle's calling plays, but the defense is also calling plays. It's a game of chess, and sometimes you guess wrong, and sometimes you don't execute. I think the play call that Kyle, we just saw on the video, had McKivitz picked up Jones, Ayuk was wide open, and so would have Jennings would have been open. So it was just, they got beat on that play, and you can't fault Kyle for that.
Kansas City made more plays. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, Kansas City made more plays and bigger plays, and that's it. Jeff Caravellis is no different than an elite PGA player. Kyle needs a mental game coach. I think he'll rid himself of collapses like he did in the third quarter. Thoughts? I don't know if I'd call it a collapse, but I mean, they definitely got away from the run in the third quarter. Joseph Phillips says, other than Williams, Kyle has barely invested high draft picks or free agents on the O-line. This organizational perspective must change. Give Purdy a clean pocket. Yeah, I think this is a classic draft where you invest at least 2 picks in offensive linemen, maybe more.
And I know you love Colton McKivitz, Larry. I know that's your guy. He gives you great interviews. He was bad this year. I mean, relatively in perspective to McGlinchey, they were comparable. So maybe for the price, it's okay. But McKivitz wasn't very good this year. He gave up a ton of pressure, in my opinion. You can push back if you want, but
he hadn't given up any sacks in these playoffs and going into today. But I mean, you're also asking a guy who was a 5th-round draft choice, who was probably, is in a championship team. He's probably the best position to be like an Allegretti role for the Chiefs. He's a smart, heady backup that can play all 5 spots and not burn you. And instead, they've used him as a starting right tackle all year. I don't think he's a starting right tackle. I think he's a cerebral jack of all trades guy who is a serviceable right tackle at best. They need to invest in that position. There's no doubt. No doubt.
And I've been like kind of negative, like when people have said like, oh, why don't they invest more in the O-line? I always I'm like, oh, come on. This is part of the great thing about Kyle is like, it's like the one scheme. You don't really have to invest in an O-line. You get the one great left tackle and you can kind of make do and make it look like you have a good offensive line. But it's just again and again, you come up against the fatal flaw of this team when they get into 2nd and 8 or, 3rd and 8 versus these type of teams with the pressure, the interior pressure, like it's brutal. And I really think that because Purdy can, move around a little bit and that this is now transforming a little bit more into a passing game offense, and the fact that Purdy is a smaller guy and gets a lot of balls batted down, I think it's time you got to invest in some interior alignment. You just have to do it.
Yeah, no doubt. Green Glass Full says love to Greenlaw. Appreciate that one. Philip
sucks.
Wilson
That
says
sucks. He's going to be out a long time.
Moody missing the PAT hurt. Ball rolled off his ankle. It wasn't a block. He missed many more extra points all season. I knew
That was
this
his
shit
first
was
one,
gonna
I think.
catch up to the Niners. Yeah, burned them this week. Rome Gut Level says Kyle chokes. Know who wins Super Bowls? Belichick. Demote Kyle to OC, hire Bill, or cut Kyle. Don't care. We had the better team, not the better coach.
These are really.
I'm still rocking with Kyle.
Christopher
Yeah.
Lockwood says, Rome Gut Level. It's fans like you that know nothing about football. Another no holding calls. It's rigged. We need to score after that interception. Joseph Ernberg. Niners are forever going to be a glorified Cowboys team. Cut McLeod. Get rid of Kyle. He will forever be in high school or in his father's shadow.
Cut McLeod. What did he do wrong?
He says he
I
just
guess
thinks
after the ball hit Luter.
he could have just fell on it. He could have just fell on it. He tried to advance it and then he fumbled. Jeff Taylor says Shanahan is an OC, not a head coach. Charlie Sinclair says Kyle throwing 6 times to start the third quarter, not good. I would have liked to have seen them run the ball in the third quarter as well. Connor R says 49ers were a stop away from winning it all. Mahomes is the best quarterback of all time. It is what it is. Let's stop with the blame game.
Yes.
Gizmo Maltese, Kyle is Marv Levy. Green Glass Full Purdy was better than Mahomes or Machines. G. Vaughnese, CMC fumble was the killer. 0 points on that drive. Yeah, that was a.
The first quarter, it was the yardage was 129 for the Niners and like 19.
Yeah, they were
Chiefs.
blowing.
And the
They were up
defense came
3-0.
out balling.
Yeah. It's kind of shocking like that the Chiefs ended with 450 yards. Like it was for a while there, they were showing those graphics. Like this is now,
Yeah.
How much of that was
defense
in?
good.
How much of that was in the last 2 or 3 drives? Though it was like,
yeah, exactly.
Over 100 for sure.
What was the over under 50?
No, 46 and a half, 47 and a
So-
half.
It went way over.
Look, I'll give props to the defense. You
No,
hold
ended up at
Mahomes to
47.
19 points.
25 to 19. What was the final?
25 to 22,
2. Yeah, so 47.
but just barely under.
The
Just
Niners
said-
defense held Mahomes to 19 points in the first 4 quarters. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good for Mahomes. I thought the defense did everything they could.
Especially
just
when
so
you
tough.
factor in 1 touchdown off of the freaking gimme.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One of the touchdowns is from 10 yards away. It's there's so many the tough thing about this game is that it's such a close game that it's hard. There's so many different things you could point out and say this was the play where they lost. Like any play, any different play, if
Any
it went a
play.
different way, we would be sitting here saying how great of a game it was from the 49ers. So-
Can we talk a little bit just a bit for us, for me, Baller, Kevin, I know that nobody feels bad for 49ers fans because obviously all of the success in the past, but it has just been pretty insane. Just from Harbaugh until now, not only is it every time they get in the playoffs, they make it to at least the NFC Championship game, but then every single time they are up in the end of the game and they're coming back and they lose in heartbreaking fashion. Every single time this has happened, except for the Eagles game, and I count that as heartbreaking because that wasn't even a game last year. So
It's been
and outside of that
been a
Eagles
rough,
game, they've lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion in each time.
They haven't been able to
Absolutely right.
finish.
It
They have
stinks.
not been able to finish. Yeah.
It's been
in my
rough for
lifetime,
us.
I've seen the Niners lose 6 or 7 times in the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl.
Well, they've had
And
the most
no one
championship
won and outs.
appearances, NFC Championship
Yeah.
appearances of any team. They're 19 or something
Hang
like
the
that.
banner.
Well, it just kind of shows too that Mahomes, it's this is Mahomes' time. He's probably got 1 or 2 more in there. You know, I mean, he's probably gonna. He's a great.
funny.
He's a great. I wonder how long Reed goes, or does Reed hang it up?
I mean, he's got Mahomes. Like, okay, here, can I just plead to the rest of the NFL? Like, Mike McDonald like shows up and he's the sexy guy, and like, you know, he's the coordinator for the Ravens for a year, and now he has a job. Can someone please hire away Spags? Get this man off the Chiefs. The guy's too good to be a defensive coordinator. Get him a head coaching position. It is not fair that they get to just keep Spags and all the continuity year after year. Doesn't matter.
He doesn't want it.
This is a talented, super talented Chiefs defense. But even in the years where they weren't like the most talented, the guy has them ready to play and showing up big in every fucking playoffs. It's frustrating.
Yeah. I'm curious if the outcome, let's say the Niners, that last drive that the Chiefs had in overtime to win the game, had they turned it over, fumble, INT, missed field goal, would we be hearing all the comments of the negative comments that Kyle sucks, that the Niners got to blow it up? They would have won. So what would have changed? What would have been different that, had they something like that happened? I mean, it
Danny, people who just are going to always deliver hate in the post game. You just got to get used to it. The guy says, Niner gang, 30 years, no Super Bowl. F y'all trash talkers. J.E. Olage says, member for 18 months. Fire Shanahan. Purdy doesn't have it. Oh, great. Jamie Allen, being up 3 on 2 critical drives made defense play soft. Christopher Lockwood, after the first half, after the pick, we needed to run off of Trent, but instead it was 2nd and 18, and we let them off the hook.
Trent had a couple, I love Trent. That also was a total drive stopper when he had those 2 penalties.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was huge.
That was absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. Gosh,
yeah, I mean, the Niners shot themselves in the foot a couple times, and that was one of them. That was one of the drives where it's like, you're in the Super Bowl, Trent. You can't. Wasn't it back-to-back plays?
It was back-to-back plays.
Yeah.
2nd and 27 after they lost.
And weirdly, you could say like the 49ers, like their best offensive players, like they all had moments where they just kind of just boneheaded stuff. Trent with the 2 penalties, he got beat a couple times. CMC with the fumble, Debo getting his ass clamped up. Ayuk, he was getting clamped. He had a miscommunication with Purdy. Kittle, I don't know, we're not watching the all 22 here, but I mean, Kittle did have that sick. That 4th down was sick. That was epic. We all have to acknowledge that was epic.
Yeah,
but
that
he
was
was
awesome.
quiet.
How about that one pass? I think it was to Debo where he was wide open in the end zone, but again, Purdy had to.
It was Chris Jones.
Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Chris
Jones against the Niners
he kills
is awesome. He's awesome.
He doesn't show up in the box score, but he shows up in the film. You every single time I've seen Chris Jones play, I'm like, damn, he's wrecking this game. And then you check the box score, and it's like, 1 tackle for loss and 3 tackles. It doesn't show up in the box, but he does.
And it's weird because we've seen them go up against Aaron Donald for it's ages, and like Kyle kind of weirdly knows how to game plan for Aaron Donald. And there's just nothing you can do with Chris Jones.
Chris Jones, the most dominant defensive player in the game,
and his instincts, man, they're so
He's a free agent. He's a free agent. Maybe
I know he is.
Go sign him. Tim Donnelly says you have to take the ball in overtime. If Kansas City scores a touchdown, it's game over. Kyle not running on 3rd down at the 2-minute warning was huge. Kansas City had 2 timeouts.
Well, isn't the new rule that if you score a touchdown, the other team gets the ball?
Yeah,
isn't that the new rule? Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that. 3rd down and 4 with 2 minutes to go. I thought that Kyle might run the ball and see if he gets 2 or 3, then maybe go for it on 4th down. I think that was the play of the game right there, because if they pick up the first, they're going to win. And if they didn't get the first, Kansas City was likely to call a timeout because it would have went down to 120 had they let the clock run. And then he threw it. It was incomplete, right? On the 3rd and 4th?
McDuffie blitzed and they threw it. and it was incomplete.
I thought they should have. I was, I had a buddy over. Mark Graves was here watching that with me, and I was like, I think they should run. I think they should run around the left side and pick up. Hopefully, try and pick up the first. But if not, you're forcing Kansas City to call a timeout, and you're still in field goal range.
Obi1_49 says Kyle needed to take this Super Bowl. Had he gone for the touchdown instead of the field goal, but failed, I tip my hat. Everyone knew there's no stopping Mahomes if only 3 is required. Yeah. That was a crusher. Into Quietus says, bummer ending. Both teams left it up for grabs.
I mean, you think about that, Larry, the only needing 3 with 2 minutes, basically, you're going to get the ball at the 25. With Butker, you only need 35 yards to be in field goal range. So
we saw it
and
in
you
the
got
13
4
seconds
downs to do it.
Yeah, 4 downs to do it. Like
exactly.
it felt like impossible. It felt like they needed. I was like, in my mind, I was like, they need a turnover or some like crazy offensive holding to push them back. But even if they got an offensive holding, like it would have just been like a little, just a little like 7-yard pass across the middle of the field to Rice, and then he would have run it up for another couple or to Mahomes. Like, ugh.
Watching Mahomes do his thing is just, it's like everybody's sitting there going, watch this guy, he's about to do it, and then he does it.
What down was that big play to Kelsey in the last 20, 30 seconds?
Third down, 22 yards.
Was that third down?
Third down, 3rd and 7.
Doggone, man. If they could have stopped him there, that would have been it would have been pretty easy for Butker, but it would have been a little pressure kick because it would have been a 50-yarder.
You know what? Fred should have ran right through. Someone tried to run like that little rub, like a little screen on him. They tried to screen him off, and Warner had to go around him. I want to say it was outside of, 2 yards that they're allowed to kind of make. And I think Warner should have just ran right into the DB who was trying to kind of pick him. And I think it would have been a flag. But going around him gave Kelsey a couple extra steps, and he ran for some yards after the catch.
Uncle D's show said the punt return that was fumbled. Why not dive on that ball? That was a game changer.
Yeah, I thought he could pick it up. I got to give, there's a couple flowers, now that the season's over, I do kind of want to give, there's a couple things, there's some flowers that need to be given in this game, because there was a couple guys that would have just been, how about Chris Connolly? What an awesome game. What an awesome game. Just
absolutely leveled the guy. Absolutely leveled the guy on the punt coverage.
So sick. Had a huge 3rd down conversion. Like, just showed up. Absolute dude. Bring him back next year. Also, Fred, I know he kind of made a mistake on that one that Kelsey got, but also awesome coverage on the one to Kelsey in the end zone at the end of regulation. Just awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, smothering all over him.
I'm gonna give one too. I'll give it to Moody. He made a record-setting kick. Like what are the odds that he gets put in those situations when all the talk about Moody was, they probably just won't kick it in the Super Bowl because they won't trust him. They won't trust him. They give him a 53 and a 55-yarder, and he nails them both. Yeah, and one was with the game on the line. Yeah,
and if we're giving flowers, I want to shout out Demo. I thought Demo was awesome. He's the one who ripped the ball out on Pacheco, forced the fumble. But I thought he was sticky. Like, how many times did Mahomes even throw at Demo? Wasn't many.
No, he Demo had a great game. Ron Holder says the Niners need to fix the right side of their O-line and the secondary. Purdy was under pressure way too much. Losing Greenlaw was huge. Kelsey wouldn't have been so much of a factor if Greenlaw had been in there. Yeah, I agree with that. And season for reason, 49ers need to trade Decoy Samuels and George Brittle. 2025 season, 14 players' contracts are up, 12 players for 2026, and most are gone in 2027. Business decision.
That reads like a Skip Bayless tweet.
Yeah. Glass City says, I still think Kyle Shanahan can win a Super Bowl. I know everybody's blaming Kyle, but I think he can do it. I still have faith in Kyle Shanahan. I'm in the minority, but I believe.
The guy they were up in the overtime. Like, it's so frustrating.
They have the team.
It's like, now we're going to have to do debates like, can Brock Purdy win a Super Bowl? It's like, they were up fucking 3 in the overtime. Like, of course they can win a Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah. Francisco
Exactly.
Leon, thank you, Francisco Leon. Seymour Duckett says thank you for what y'all do all season. Just got beat, have to accept it. Went against Tom 2.0 and lost. This isn't the last 2 Super Bowls. Boys played tough.
Hey, somebody gets it.
Fernando, super team and still lost. Got to look at coaching. Sorry, not sorry. Crazy boo boo chicken. They missed PAT, lost us the game. Let's be real.
when that happened, did you guys think they were going to lose? Because
I just thought, oh man, it's just like that's probably going to burn us at the end. Maurice says Wilkes 0 blitzed on 3rd in a critical time when we were getting to Mahomes with 4 or 5 guys. We need to eliminate the wide 9 with soft zones. He's fired. I mean, the wide 9's not his scheme. And that would really be something.
And
Hey,
the
you're
soft
fired.
zone isn't only him either. I mean, Sala D'Amico also ran a soft zone at times.
Exactly. Francisco Leon is Kyle becoming a Marty Schottenheimer. Ooh, getting close, but no cigar. Seymour Duckett's respect to Rye 2 called it all season. Mahomes postseason just different. He consistently said all season, watch out for the Chiefs. Mahomes showed it in the Super Bowl. I mean, watch out for the Chiefs. They were the defending Super Bowl champion. That's now a slick take. Watch out for the Chiefs.
I was riding the Chiefs when people were there. There were moments. I mean, of course, there were moments of doubt for the Chiefs throughout, but it's just the thing people didn't realize, like how good their defense was. Their defense.
Guess that's true. The heart of a champion, right?
And what I don't like is they're going to go get Mahomes a weapon. Like Rice is a rookie; he's going to get better. It's like they're going to go. There's a void at receiver there. They're going to go get him a guy.
Yeah, I could see like Stephon Diggs or somebody like that. Christopher Lockwood, what happened on the play action? Run off of Trent? Why all the empty sets? We tipped our hand, run pass.
I've been getting on Shanahan all year about empty formation. He's been going empty way too much for my liking.
And it's like, okay, you can go empty, but you got to beef up that O-line next year. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, early in the season, if you said, "Oh, I don't think McKivitz is the guy at all," and it would have been kind of considered a hater take, but I think now it's pretty safe to say a Super Bowl team does not have Colton McKivitz at right tackle. He's more of a Swiss Army knife. You know, you can move him around. He's the great backup offensive lineman, but starting right tackle for a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl, I don't think he's the guy.
49er Faithful, they didn't call any holdings on the Chiefs O-line. Gold Rush.
Yeah, the guy with the most penalties in all of football in the line.
He played a clean game.
Yeah.
Gold Rush says you go for it on 4th and 3. Max McGloin said muffed return, fall on the damn ball. John Naylor. What's up, John? We've got green glass full. Dude, Kelsey punched his coach in his fat stomach. Did you guys see that?
That was insane. I've never seen a player just bump his coach like that.
I hate Travis Kelce. God, his after the Super Bowl too.
No humility.
Oh.
Yeah.
I turned that shit off.
What'd he say?
Oh, he was like trying to get chants started and like, it was terrible. Like even Swift was cringing. I'm pretty sure.
Francisco Leon Larry, I feel for my boy Kev at 39. I want to see my son win one at some point. Yeah, no, I feel for all younger Niner fans for sure. Daniel Martinez, Steve Wilkes was under heat during that 3-game losing streak. Credit to him. He showed up during the biggest game. Shanahan did not. What do you guys think of that one?
I agree. I mean, I've been saying it all show. It's on the offense. This is not on the defense.
Not on the defense, no. I mean, also, we can blame Shanahan, and there are some plays that, I think some of the play calling was a little bit suspect at times, but also you got to – he's not out there executing. He's not up there jumping off sides. He's not there,
missing blocks
and stuff like that. He's called – that last play was dialed up perfectly, the 3rd and 4 before they kicked it. It just – that's – you can't – because McKivitz missed that assignment, you can't say that's on Kyle.
I don't know. That's one play. I thought there wasn't enough answers for the blitz all game long. I thought Purdy
That wasn't even a
was
blitz.
running for his life.
That was just
That,
they
that
didn't
wasn't a
even
blitz.
I don't think they blitzed on that. Maybe
I mean, there's more than 4 guys rushing on that play.
was there a fifth? I thought
They
there
said
was
6, I think.
Was there? Okay,
That was
okay. There was a backer that I thought the backer started coming and then he backed off. But when Kittle kind of chipped and then went out for a pass, I thought the backer backed off.
Niner says, if I'm not mistaken, 0 points from 2 turnovers that we forced. Dazza says the D-line played really well. We had some big turnovers but didn't capitalize on them. Kilted Niner fan says one of the killers of this game was the punt returning off of the ankle. That was a fluke play that went KC's way. Otherwise, nothing you can do about it. Yeah, no, I mean, they got the bounce of the ball went their direction. Christopher Lockwood said the freak injuries killed us. Greenlaw, Debo, Kittle went out. Then tight end 3 gets a holding that killed us in overtime. We were so close. Yeah, no.
Did that holding on
Braden Willis?
On Willis, but wasn't that the play afterwards where Juice got the first down?
Yeah, so it was fine.
So it was negated then. Yeah.
It was negated. Yeah.
Mr. 1R Gangster, couple of holds there too. Alex Delatorre. McKivitz was not a good offensive tackle. We knew it all year. That is a head coach's decision. It's Kyle. It always comes to leadership. Sorry, guys. I like you, but don't agree with you.
A lot of it comes down to the salary cap too. You can't have stars at every position.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
I don't think McKivitz, or I don't think McGlinchey would have been a better option.
No, I think
they made the right decision. They got McKivitz. McKivitz was better for the buck for sure. He basically did exactly what McGlinchey did. Ready, set, rush. San Francisco being favored made no sense. Almost lost to the 7 seed, and then we're down 17 the next week. Meanwhile, KC went on the road and beat the 1 and 2 seeds, defending champs too. Why was San Francisco favored?
I read something interesting on this. I had heard there was so much futures bets on the Niners winning the Super Bowl that to kind of for Vegas to hedge that, they made the Niners the favorite, knowing the money would pour in on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I heard that too. And how about the Chiefs, dude? Though this is not a Mickey Mouse ring for them. This is like as hard as it possibly could have gotten. They played the best teams in the NFL, and they beat every single one of them. So I hate it, but props to Mahomes, flowers to that team. I know they're just a great team, just a really great team.
Yeah,
Kevin Romero says, "Where was Jordan Mason with CMC in the slot?" Didn't see him.
Are we talking Jordan Mason?
Yeah. Sly Newton. I've never been of Niner. I've been a Niner fan since 81. Stop with the excuses. 9 passes, 10 runs to start the second half is where this game was lost. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like, how do you not? The special teams blunders were very painful in this game. Max McGloin, we saved $6 million letting Robbie Gould play golf and waste a 3rd-round pick on Moody. Cost us the game.
Well, you wouldn't have
you
wouldn't have had a 55-yard field goal though.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. Gene 3 Cali. There's too much complaining in the chat. The Niners have all the pieces through 2025 to 2027 and will be solid if they invest in an O-line.
Window talk.
Jamie Allen bets Finns, Bills, Ravens, and us can't trip situational. Are you guys understanding that?
Yeah, I think he's saying that's just an insane path that they had to go through. Can't say it was fluky.
They beat the Dolphins, the Bills, the Ravens, and us. Can't trip situational. Okay. Treeman McCool Jackson. He said 49ers made critical mistakes and didn't capitalize on opportunities. The O-line was the problem. There was no answer to the blitz. It is what it is. Oh, man, can't get right says 49ers are the new Buffalo Bills. Don't say that. Don't say that. John Edwards, you got to score touchdowns in the red zone. Twice they failed in critical situations. No doubt. No doubt about that. If you're going to beat Mahomes, you better score touchdowns in the red zone. Austin Rodriguez, all right, screw all this sad talk. Do we have the key players, coaches, money, and all the good stuff to run it back next year? Are we losing anyone? Well, they got 60 linemen that are free agents. They've got to extend Brandon Ayuk. Other than that, it's a bunch of mediocre free agents. So, no.
It looks like you also probably lost Greenlaw, though, too.
Oh,
and Juwan. I'd say Juwan's a little better than mediocre.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
Juwan, but I had counted Juwan gone. To me, this was no doubt his final year with the Niners. I mean,
God,
come on, you're gonna sign Ayuk. You've already got Debo signed. You know, you can't keep everybody. He'll be a Tennessee Titan, is my guess.
This was Brock Purdy in the post game. He said, "quote We have the team and the offense to score touchdowns, and I failed to put our team in the position to do that."
What a class
That's just because
act.
Brock's that kind of guy who says stuff like that. He'll wear it, but I don't think it's on Brock.
Yeah, kilted Niner fan. All these ding-dongs talking about our firing Shanahan are ridiculous. Who the heck wouldn't replace their head coach with him? Remember the
Tom Sula.
The Tom Sula and the Chip Kelly years? Give me a break.
Let me show you guys this. I think you guys were talking about this earlier. This is the play. The holds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Play. Look at Hargrave. What's 79 doing?
And Bosa's getting hold from behind.
It did feel like they were almost emphasizing holding at the beginning of the game, kind of, and it just happened to get called on the Niners. And then, But then at the end of the game, I think they just swallow their whistles.
Joseph Hernberg, staying within Kyle is idiotic. Staying within Kyle.
I mean, who else are you going to get to like? It's like you lost to Andy Reid and Mahomes. All right, like there's no.
You're gonna have
another. Is Dan Campbell beating them? I don't know.
I mean, who would you rather have? Who are you gonna get?
Don't tell me Belichick either, because he's not an offensive coach.
Flavor _ reborn restorations. Wilkes played deep coverage for that last drive, made it easy to throw underneath. Basically, handed them the field goal.
Oh God, I know. It's like what else do you
green glass full? Mahomes, the hayseed, faux hawk, Kermit the dork. All right. Gregory Naramore. I think McKivitz played almost every snap this year. He's only in his third year and underrated. Trent can give him knowledge. There we go. We got a McKivitz fan. Daza, Kyle doesn't suck and shouldn't be fired, but he's the offensive genius and 20 points in one Super Bowl and 22 in another isn't good enough.
I mean, Andy Reid's an offensive genius. Yeah. And they have Patrick Mahomes.
And they only had 19 too. I mean,
and the 49ers defense is worse. So
Max McGloin wondering how the Purdy haters are going to blame this on Brock. Well, they're probably not going to.
I think that what's going to happen to this game is it's going to just fade into the ether. And I think it was an awesome Brock game in a big, circumstance, and it would have gotten blown way out of proportion if they won. But instead, it's just going to kind of get lost to the wind. He's going to have to prove it again next year in the eyes of media.
Christopher Lockwood, this game came down to 2 3rd and 4s. One was a tipped bad play call. The other, Jones forced Purdy to throw and had Juwan wide open for the touchdown. Yeah, he's probably right, to be honest. Bent's 7. Thank you. Hot Pocket says, I called it after the first half. First one to score will win the Super Bowl. Abu Marco 23. Bills of the early 90s, Eagles of the 2000s. This team has 7 deep runs in 13-year span. We are becoming a historic loser. Don't like to hear that. Ramsey Alvarez. I wonder if the coordinators didn't see the edges were wide open when they were running. They should have told McCaffrey to run it outside like Mitchell did.
Mm-hmm.
The dude says, Raider fan here. I'm not sorry, but you guys are good guys and fans. Good season.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks, dude. Inventive Films. Thoughts on the 49ers soft coverage during crunch time, just giving up everything underneath. bend but don't break, but then bend and bend and bend and bend and bend.
I just feel like that
That's-
also that was highlighted by the lack of pass rush. The Niners, there was just their defensive line was tired, and it gave Mahomes more time. I don't know.
I like when you're challenging a team. I like to challenge them. You know what I mean, and take my chances. I hate the let's let them, move the ball down the field at will. Take a chance, make them, make a play. Don't just give it to them by slow death. And that's kind of what we watched there at the end. It was just like, oh, here it goes. Can they get off the field? Nope, they couldn't. They lose the Super Bowl. I mean, it was so hard to watch. Carl Zion, this loss makes you forget Jair Brown picked off Mahomes in the third quarter. We never capitalized on any of our defensive stops in the second half. Devastating. Yeah, it's a great play by Jair. Deshaun DeVoe, we are the Utah Jazz, winning against. What does that say? OBJ.
It does look like it says OBJ, but maybe he means like we're like Utah Jazz versus Jordan.
I don't know. Gregory Naramore, how do you think Jair Brown did in the game? I thought he did well.
Sweet pick.
Nice pick. What about that one big completion? Pacheco ended up coughing it up, but Tayshaun Gibson was there. Jair Brown was there. I wish someone could have swatted that ball away, but hey,
Tayshaun Gibson played poorly in coverage.
Yeah, he had a terrible coverage. Yeah,
he was matched up on Travis Kelce a ton this game. I was surprised to see that's who the Niners decided to stick on Kelce.
Yeah,
I thought Warner did a good job covering Kelce at times.
We've got this one from Austin Rodriguez. The PAT ain't Moody's fault. That line didn't hold up. No, he struck it low, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't he strike it low?
I blocked it with his elbow.
Also, how about just more like heartbreaking things, but just they were so close to blocking the Butker one.
Herbie Hall says Kyle never adjusted to the blitz, even on the missed touchdown to Jennings. Hell, everyone could see it coming, and they never had a play against it.
Is that Kyle? I don't know. What was McKivitz doing there? Who is he? Who if Chris Jones isn't his guy, who is it? It wasn't the right guards. I don't know. I think that was a mistake. I think we're gonna see that tomorrow. Tomorrow, someone's gonna highlight that and be like, "This is his guy."
I need Baldy to tell me what happened.
Yeah.
Gizmo Maltese, for an offensive genius, Kyle never seems to have the clever play he needs to win the game at the end.
I mean, he drew it up. It just got blown up.
Joshua Wyatt, don't let Kyle off the hook. When he kicked the overtime field goal, he gave the Chiefs 4 downs on every try. They would have been better off running it over at the 8. The moment he elected to kick, he lost. Yeah.
I'm with Dan. I think Dan brought up a good point. Run the rock on 3rd and 4. You get 3 yards, 4th and 1. You got to go for that. Now the clock's running, and you're pretty much kicking a Jake Moody field goal, as time expires.
I thought Kyle had a really gutsy call in the third quarter. I think it was a 4th down.
4th
on
and
the
3
15-yard
on
line.
12 or 15.
Yeah, it was at the 15-yard line, and he threw it for a first down. It was super gutsy call, and it worked out, and they scored on that. They scored a touchdown on that drive.
I hate _yogurt. Team needs to rebuild and find a new offense. Brock can throw guys open and read a defense, stop the gimmicks, and trade Debo. Nothing but a diva now. Wow. Hard.
Debo did not have a good game.
No.
He did not have a good. He dropped one of those balls that almost was an interception.
Yeah, that was a definite dive.
Shalandon Walker. Thank you, Shalandon Walker. Sucker free. Offense choke. Defense was tired of cleaning up the offense's mess. Two turnovers from the Chiefs. No points. Defense was outstanding. They just got gassed. They just was gassed. 49er JoJo. 49ers are the Bills of this century. Oh, man. Kaz G says, did we run at all in the third quarter? What's your thoughts on that? Hardly at all. Hardly at all in that third. I wish they'd committed to the run right there. T5 said, hey, $1.99. Joseph Ehrenberg, get rid of Kyle. He's a loser and forever will be. Shalandon Walker, go get Bill Belichick as the defensive coordinator. Fire. Somebody suggested that. KOSZG, Kyle needs a real OC or he needs to be demoted to an OC. Titus Moeller, Vish is pretty frustrated and is saying that the 49ers lost the game the same way in 2019. Well, lots of different ways. Thoughts?
I disagree because I felt like it did feel similar to the 2019 game where it was like they had the two and outs, they didn't capitalize, and then they had the muff punt for a touchdown. It felt like they were really selling, like they were selling the game away. And then I thought, they came back down. They had the sick 4th down call, touchdown. And then I thought I thought that it felt like Kyle and Purdy were going to beat the allegations. It felt like they were coming up big every time they had to come up big. And then it's just, I don't know. It's a weird one. It doesn't really feel like it just doesn't feel as much like they choked it away because it didn't end in like a Mahomes kneel down or like Purdy, trying to score a touchdown to win the game, but it didn't end up happening.
Yeah, they had him. They had him right there. They were inside the 10-yard line, 2nd down, and 4 to go. From the 9, they just didn't execute. And couple of. I still think the 2nd down call was the key. I didn't like the run to the right. I just think you were running to the left side, getting chunk yards. It seemed like in that second half, especially that last couple of drives, every time McCaffrey was given the ball on a toss or just where he cut to the left off of Williams, it seemed like he was getting big chunks. And then all of a sudden you run Debo in motion, and it's like, oh, you're going to get cute and go to the right side where the offensive line was not moving the Chiefs defensive line all game. And that was just frustrating to that call, because I think at least you pick up, if you go left side, if you don't pick up the 1st down, you're probably putting yourself in a 4th and 2 or 1 situation. And maybe you still, you go for it there. Just was disappointed there. The other question I want to ask you guys, this is more of a question for you, Larry, probably. Would you consider trading Debo this offseason to be able to sign Ayuk and maybe beef up the offensive line with a draft pick, or what could you get for Debo at this point?
I mean, I would consider it, but I mean, he's very much a part of your culture. He's one of Kyle's favorite players. I don't see it going too far. I mean, I'd want a 1st-round pick. I'd probably want a 1st-round pick and a 3rd-round pick. I don't even know if you could get that. So I don't know if they're going to wind up trading him. It seems like I'd be all ears, though. I'd be interested in any creative way to potentially make this team better. T5 says, run the ball, Kyle Shanahan. They were tired. He runs the ball and we win. I'm so sick of this guy.
To the defense of Kyle. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, this is a crazy stat. Just more Chris Jones glazing, as they would say. From Seth Walder, top Super Bowl pass rush win rates. So these are pass rush win rate percentages. Chris Jones, number 1 at 21%. Number 2 was George Karlaftis at 17%. Then Chase Young at 15. Nick Bosa at 15. Michael Dana at 11. Chris Jones, 21.
Wow.
Glazing.
If you're not feeling that great right now because the Niners just lost, the good news is that right now the Niners are the favorites to win the Super Bowl next year.
Stop it.
I swear to God.
Oh my.
Bleacher Report.
Is that Vegas?
Here is
Jay Glazer.
Here is Kyle. Let's hear Kyle here.
What do you mean?
Let's hear a little bit of Kyle. I've got a little bit of Kyle off Twitter. Here you go, a little Kyle Shanahan.
As players, in terms of we worked.
Hold on a second.
No, I mean, when we go through football, like, and you watch it as part of our job, I mean, any play that doesn't work, you always think about that. But in terms of like everything that we try to do, we try to prepare as hard as we can. And we try to go in there and do exactly what we think's right based off our preparation, what's going on in that game, and try to make what I can't live with is when I do stuff that I didn't plan on doing or that I didn't do and second guess myself. And I'm proud of what we did today as a coaching staff and as players in terms of we worked and we did everything that we planned on doing. We just didn't get it done. And any play that didn't work out, yeah, you always look at that stuff, but that's how every game is. And that's what we work at.
To Kyle's defense on all the talk about him not running the ball in the third quarter, like if you look at the plays situationally, I think it makes a little bit more sense. Like the first drive coming out of half, the first play is a pass, the second play, Banks false start. So now you're looking at second and 15. They try to pass it again. It's incomplete. Now you're third down. You have to pass. The second drive, the first play is a pass to Juwan Jennings for -8 yards. So now you're 2nd and 18 again. So you're probably not going to run it there. So I guess that'll ball you're muted, but I guess that
when you pass so much, it increases the risk of negative plays. That's running the ball. That's why you have a 2nd and 18, because there's a pressure and Purdy's running for his life and he's got to throw it to Juwan Jennings, who's running back to him. So, if you run the rock on first down, it's not 2nd and 18.
Alex Zubia.
The next drive they ran and it was for no gains, and then they went back to passing. So I'm just saying there's some situational reasons why they passed.
Gotcha.
Alex Zubia says the Super Bowl loss hurts the most, knowing we could have put the game on lock, knowing this was number 6, a couple of better play calls, one less mistake out of 3 or 4, and we had number 6 would have been ours. Oh my God. Ramsey Alvarez says Kyle went away from what got them there. Christopher Lockwood, I love Shanny, but he made some questionable calls. He choked. We didn't have a first down the second half until the 4th. Inexcusable versus Mahomes. Zorn 76 said, tough moment, but above all else, Brock Purdy's a winner. Brock Purdy is class. Brock Purdy is humble, and he'll helm the 49ers for many years to come. Well, there's no doubt.
Speaking up on that, Tony Romo at the beginning of the game, he was setting up, all he wants to do is talk about Mahomes. And he started off the game and he was like, well, you know what, Jim, this is going to be a lot of pressure for Brock Purdy because, you see number 15 over there on the other side. And it just does a lot of things to quarterbacks. They tend not to come up big in these situations knowing he's over there. And then Purdy just looked totally fine, looked super comfortable to start the game. And then he tried doing the same exact thing going into the 4th quarter. He's like, this is when the pressure really gets to you. And you see 15 on the other sideline. And I felt like Purdy looked like it was a regular season game. The guy was just completely locked in, looked completely used to the pressure, totally normal. So I think that's a great sign.
Jay Buies Yehar says, think John Lynch is giving Bill Belichick a call tomorrow. Now, I said this, that if the Niners lose the Super Bowl, I could see them pivoting to Bill Belichick as the DC. I'd love to see it. I think the Niners have a lot of good young DBs, and they need a coach that can develop those good young DBs. And if Belichick was willing to do it, I'd be willing to have him. We'll see. I don't know. It seemed like there was some disconnect and disharmony between Shanahan and Wilkes. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. Maybe Wilkes will be back, but I get the sense that that when they do their autopsy on the year, they're going to decide that the defense needs to be better. And despite the offense only scoring whatever they scored tonight, the defense will get blamed and Wilkes will take the blame and Wilkes will move on. I think there's still very much a chance that Belichick could be the defensive coordinator. That's just me talking. I have no sources, but I could see them going after Belichick. I absolutely could. Francisco Leon, it's Leon. Oh, Francisco Leon. Thank you. Sorry about that, Francisco. Thanks for the extra super chat to clarify the pronunciation. I hate _yogurt says team is not getting any younger, though. Plus, using the same gimmick on O and D, both sides of the line need rework. Keep Ayuk and Jennings, draft new number 2. Yeah, I would say O line, D line, keep Ayuk. If you can keep Jennings, do it. I doubt they'll be able to.
I mean, I'm interested in your guys' opinion on this, but I don't think any of us are proposing that they do anything drastic, right? I mean, you kind of just have to run it back and improve in small ways, right? There's no like, you got to fire Kyle, replace him with this, or you got to trade all these key players. But what is the move? Is the move just let's get better in the draft and sign a few guys in a couple key places and run it back? That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't really think it's going to be like trade Debo, trade Hargrave, fire Wilkes. Like, I think it's going to be kind of the same team with a few more pieces.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it always is. I mean, there'll be 10 or 12 rookies. There'll be a free agent or two. It'll be interesting to see if they like to target one major free agent, who will be their target. That will be.
I would love a right tackle. I would love a right tackle, and then maybe another corner. I mean, Ambry Thomas, they were scared to put Ambry Thomas out there. It was Demo, and then in the nickel, it was Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan was out there a ton tonight. If you can draft another corner and Demo plays in the slot and a right tackle, those are a couple things I'm looking to improve.
Yeah, another corner would be nice. L'Jarius Sneed's a free agent. Herbie Holland says Kyle Shanahan will never win a Super Bowl.
Tyron Smith is a free agent next year.
Yeah. Armando Colmenares says game was lost in the first half. Up 7, we could have been up at least 14. Was our downfall. Offense wasn't sharp at all in the first half. Ryan Crowley, Niners will not get back. Kyle choked again. Next year will be rough. We have 75 offensive weapons, and we use none of them right. Kyle blew both Super Bowls. Wow. Tyler Wiseguy, that is so devastating to lose this Super Bowl. How will the team recover? Do you think? Maybe go sign Brian Burns. He's a free agent.
Do you think all these people in the comments, like when their parents or if their parents and their like kids bring home report cards, like it is just like they're basically firing their kids if they don't get all A+?
Get out of here. You'll never amount to nothing. I told that to Kev, but he just kept going.
Something about losing that brings out all the people with pitchforks and torches, just ready to be like,
it feels good. It does feel good. It feels good to get a pitchfork and a. Yeah,
They walk proudly into the office on Monday morning. How you doing, Lois? Yes, last night on the internet, I demanded somebody to be fired. Really? Well, good morning, Hal. How impressive are you? Matthew Rowley. I don't care about the refs, just how does CMC have 15 rushes at the end of regulation? Also, Wilkes is 100% gone. Did he not understand the overtime rules? How'd you think? What'd you think of Wilkes' job of coordinating in the OT?
It's hard. I gotta rewatch it honestly because it's one of those things where Mahomes in the fourth quarter does do special things. He's a good quarterback. Sometimes you can play a good game against the Bills. Know it for sure. Sometimes you can play a great game against Mahomes and still not come up on top.
He's damn good.
I was looking at just the overtime possession the Chiefs had. Mahomes pulled it on the fake handoff on the 4th and 1. Niners could have won it if they could have stopped him on that 4th and 1. 4th and 1s are tough, but Mahomes pulled it, ran for a chunk, and then you see it was check downs to Pacheco. Just short stuff to Kelsey. They just matriculated the ball down the field.
Which is what always ends up happening in these stupid Mahomes end of game. Like you're so scared of getting beat over the top and losing the game via touchdown that you just move it right down the field. Like, and I don't even necessarily think that's like, oh wow, Andy Reid's some amazing play caller. It's just like Mahomes has done this so many times now. He's completely on the same page as all his receivers. He just knows what to do, and it's just like it's second nature.
Have we seen? I mean, yeah. we haven't, besides the Tampa Bay Bucks in 2019 when they lost, obviously, it seems like every single one of these Chiefs wins has come down to a huge drive from Mahomes where it looks like he's just unstoppable. And he's not throwing to some, star-studded receivers. He's like last year he's thrown to what's his name?
Juju
Toney.
Smith-Schuster,
Juju
Kadarius
Smith-Schuster.
Toney.
Yes. It's this year it's McCole Hardman on that play. It's just there's so many what ifs about this game. What if this happened? What if that happened? I think the Niners played a good game, and they had a few bad plays, which they have in every game, but the Chiefs just got the best of them.
As far as Wilkes, Wilkes did a nice job, going up against Andy Reid for, in regulation, and then things in the overtime. He struggled. I mean, he didn't seem like he had any answers for what the Chiefs were trying to do. The Chiefs in overtime went a lot to the zone read, and the Niners looked bad defensively against it. And then the game-winning touchdown pass that the Chiefs used last year in the Super Bowl, that didn't
multiple
go too
times,
well.
Larry. They ran that exact play multiple times for touchdowns in last year's Super Bowl. You would thought that we would have been prepped for that, the little fake motion to the flat. They weren't.
Shout out Baller.
How much do you give? How much blame is worthy to give Shanahan? I mean, you're winning 10-3 in the third quarter at half, and then in the third quarter, Shanahan winds up calling 11 passes and 3 runs, and the Niners score 0 points. They give up the lead, and it was like, once again, it's like this is like something that we've seen from Shanahan in the past. It's like he'll get up in a game and he'll just stay aggressive with the pass and forgets about the run. And how much of this game was on that? The fact that in the third quarter, they didn't score any points and they really just ignored the run altogether, even though they had a lead in the game.
I mean,
I'd have to rewatch it.
I already have my opinion on this. And I even think you could disagree with me and say, well, he should have ran again. But I mean, I went through the plays. He chose to run it on the 3 possessions they had in the third quarter, or at least the first 3 possessions they had in the first quarter or the third quarter. It turned to be negative plays or 0 plays. So then it's like you're in second and long, and you're kind of in a position to pass again. So,
and I think
you started it with a pass play.
And the Trent Williams too. The Trent Williams 2 penalties, I think, was in that cluster.
That killed. That was the second drive. Killed it.
Yeah, that was absolutely killer. I was actually going to say shout out Baller for the great call of saying how McCole Hardman scored a bunch of times versus the Niners the last times they played. And then, of course, he gets in the end. Not to be outdone by, I got to say, we did, Larry, you weren't privy to this, or Kevin, but we did a little first time or first touchdown player draft because we wanted to get a little bit of a fantasy draft element going when we were on Dan's show.
Right.
And, I got to say, I do think I deserve a little bit of a pat on the back. Obviously, I picked CMC first, but not only did I have CMC, I also had Jennings who threw him the ball.
That's right.
I felt like a lot of serotonin flowing in as that happened. And I was like, wow, at least 20 people are like, that was lucky.
Jeebus says situationally, we should have deferred the overtime. Receiving the ball is not an advantage with the new rules. You have to play it like the college OT. Fasting Man says one thing that hurts is we've had so much talent over the Harbaugh and Shanahan years, and we have no championships since the 94 season. Damn, it hurts. Great show.
I will say this about the overtime. I like the rule of overtime of letting it had, a team scored a touchdown in the regular season. It's over, but
let's talk about that for a second though. Would you guys have deferred? If you had the decision, would you defer?
No,
I don't think so.
The defense was gassed.
I've taken the ball for sure.
Just because the defense was on the field at the end of the regulation and they were tired.
Yeah.
Because Mahomes said, even though, he said they would have deferred, even though their defense seemed to be.
It is an advantage to know what. Yeah, I mean, the way it worked out perfectly for the Chiefs. Now, what would have been interesting is would they have gone for 2? That would have been epic.
I was thinking that. I was thinking had the Niners scored. In fact, I said to Mark Graves, I said, if the Niners score here in overtime and the Chiefs come down and score, do you think they'll go for 2? He thought they would. I could see Reed going for 2, just like some gutsy way. We're going to end it right here.
Seymour Duckett says if Moody makes the PAT, they're up by 4. Chiefs go hard for the touchdown. I don't think that missed PAT hurt us as much as everyone says.
I agree.
Chiefs would have ended it in regulation.
I agree.
That's how I'm choosing to feel.
I think
Review Scientology says, do we stick with Steve Wilkes next season? Steve
You
Wilkes
stick
has
with
moved-
them, you get the comp pick.
Yeah, if you do bring him back and he leaves at the end of the year for a higher job, you do get the 3rd round comp pick. But
I don't
would
care
say-
about that.
Yeah.
I want the best guy for the job. I don't care about the pick.
Yeah, I don't either, really. I'd rather get the best guy. Akshay says, here's $2. John Edwards says, do you guys think the Niners recover from this loss? No, I don't. I think they'll disband the franchise in the offseason.
That was the last Niners game. That was it.
This will be too much to overcome, and they will not overcome this. Doug D just drops a 10 spot. Thank you, Doug D. Anthony Cruz. Anyone else getting 2000 Sharks vibes?
Now that you mention it,
if I had watched the 2000 Sharks, I'd probably would have had those vibes, but I don't get those vibes.
Is anyone getting 1982 Canucks vibes? Because
I'm getting an itchy rash, and I'm blaming it on the Giants. Gregory Naramore, should the 49ers go for O-tackle Jonah Williams in free agency? He's just marginal. I'm not a Jonah Williams fan. Paul Moon says, thanks, guys, for dealing with some of the drunken ridiculousness comments here. Do you see any early offseason acquisitions? God, Paul, you're obviously wasted. No. As far as, off-season acquisitions, I could see the Niners making a big play for L'Jarius Sneed. They're probably going to make one big free agent signing. It'll probably be either a corner, a defensive lineman, or an offensive tackle. I don't see any offensive tackles out there. D-line.
Have two Chiefs corners.
It could be a D-line.
Mooney, Ward, and Sneed.
But L'Jarius Sneed, I could see them going for a top-tier corner.
I'd say not just to, say something negative, but I could see some concern with the 49ers defense from the standpoint you have Hufanga coming off the ACL and now Greenlaw coming off the Achilles. That's 2 huge injuries to 2 key players.
There's no question. And they need help. They need more depth at linebacker. They're going to need to overhaul their entire defensive line. Maybe it's defensive line, just because they have some young corners that they like. Though I don't know, Womack, another guy, wasn't activated today. Another game where Womack was inactive. Mr. Block.
What? Yeah. What? Hold on. Why go Luter over Womack?
Yeah, Womack's great on special teams.
You're right.
Womack
doesn't make that. He doesn't make that.
Womack's in the doghouse, man. I asked about Womack the other day, and I got this.
You got a weird response.
I don't want to talk about the individual. Let's just talk about bigger, the whole defense in general. Why don't you want to talk about the individual? He seems physically like your best corner in some ways.
He gave a super vague answer too. It was like he was like, "You just got to keep seeing good things from him, and then he'll get his shot."
Who was that? Wilkes?
Yeah,
Wilkes on Womack. Obviously, Womack was buried. Mr. Block Ice 22. Offense played average. Special teams was bad. Yeah. It's a rough night for Schneider, the special team coach. Romo 2001. All is not lost. Giants baseball inbound coming soon.
That's tongue in cheek there.
Oh yeah, we know. Kilted Niner fan. The last time I checked, the Niners had 5 Super Bowl wins to Buffalo's 0. Maritime Wakegal. They could have Wakegal. They could have picked up a good right tackle and a good center with those first-round picks for Lance. Of course, if Kyle did not pass on Mahomes and Brady, there would be no need for a trade-up for a quarterback. Yes, and we've got this one From Davis, look how far Purdy has taken us 2 seasons in a row. Third time will be the charm. CMC and Purdy are our keys next year. And Greg Argisi, I'm so pissed. KC holding all night long. No calls. Brock in duress, but still made plays. If the damn special teams didn't muff, Niners win. F you, the Queefs. All right. Couple more. Titus Muller. Any chance we could get Chris Jones, or is that crazy? I'd get him. I love Chris Jones. Wake up, smell the coffee. It's scripted. The Niners fan in me tried to go against the Swifty script all season. It's so effing obvious. Bread and circus. Daniel Martinez can let Mahomes have that. Can't let Mahomes have that final drive. And Jay Ferranto 8 yelling, run the ball, felt pointless. Shanahan got away from it all postseason. Get a couple more here. NFC looks stronger next year. Ayuk seems like wide receiver 1. Who can we get without JJ and lackluster Debo? Should we invest in a slot wide receiver or slot and that works in Kyle's scheme?
What?
That might not be bad. A couple more here. Duncan Clare, Bills fan here, was genuinely rooting for y'all. Should have let CMC keep pounding the rock. Heartbreaking loss, tighter O-line, and you all are golden. Fish and chips, off to Cabo like nothing happened. Happy days. Christopher Lockwood, difference between Walsh and Shanny. Walsh would do something over and over until you can't stop it. Shanny will let teams off the hook. Couple more. Matthew Rowley. No. Why were the 49ers in those bad situations in the third? Because of Kyle's play calls. That is not an excuse. Joe E. with Dre going down with the gutting Achilles. What linebacker do you think is next up? I like Jalen Graham next to Fred next season. I like Jalen Graham. And then one more, and then we'll go to Damon here. Kevin F. says, $5. Great season, everyone. Thanks for all the streams this year. Sometimes you play your best, but lose to a better team. Hopefully they make it back. Damon, what's going on, man?
Well, that's about as brutal as it gets. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. Guys, good to be with you. Baller, Dan, Rye, good to see you. Kevin, Larry, thanks as always. Look, I got to rewatch a tape before I can say things about who sucked tonight. But George Kittle sucked tonight. Where was he? I mean, I know that Steve Spagnuolo takes things away, but that away, and Kyle doesn't get him involved in the game with some behind the line scrimmage screen something, do something. Debo Samuel is drifting into the lane of incredible athlete, overpaid NFL player. Where was Debo tonight? He didn't do shit. There was an awful lot of blame to go around. This is not one man's loss. This isn't just on Moody's point after touchdown. This is Christian McCaffrey played very well, and he had a brutal fumble earlier in the game that just, haunted the 49ers because a score there means you're not in overtime. Kyle forgot how to run the ball. If you're looking for one specific thing, I mean, 3 straight 3-and-outs to start the second half before the whack, a mistake on a punt that cannot be made in a Super Bowl. Kyle has a signature. He's very successful in spite of the fact that his special teams has sucked out loud every year he's been the head coach of this team. That needs to change. Steve Wilkes had a better game than Kyle Shanahan had tonight. It's just the 49ers cordially invited every chance they got the Kansas City Chiefs to stick around in this game. And if you invite the Chiefs to stick around in this game, you're going to lose it. And that was brutal. Hi, how are you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a brutal game. I mean, Dante Whitner says it was an unsuccessful season.
Well, I mean,
the season was a failure. You agree?
I mean, I don't think that it's a failure. but they lost the Super Bowl in overtime, and it looked like they could have had it. I mean, if their season's a failure, what was the Ravens' season? What were the Ravens' total failures too? I mean, here's what we have here. One of the greatest quarterbacks to ever have playing with one of the greatest head coaches to have ever coached, with the single greatest tight end of all time. George Kittle is a really good tight end. He's nothing compared to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce spent the entire game pissed off, shut down. When it's over, after one catch for 1 yard in the first half, finishes with 9 catches and more receiving yards than anyone else who played in the game. When the chips are on the table, what do? When the chips are on the table, who are you? The Kansas City Chiefs are the most kicking your ass football team of the decade when the chips are on the table. Yeah, 49ers lost, but the Kansas City Chiefs are better again. And that's what really hurts, because you're never going to be as shut up to win a Super Bowl as you were this night. This was set up to be the Niners' night. The game even flowed in the way that you thought it might be the Niners' night. But the defense, which obviously bowed and broke at the end, the defense was better than the offense. Kyle Shanahan forgot that he had Christian McCaffrey on this team in 3 downs in a row. Christian McCaffrey didn't touch the ball in the second half until the 4th drive. What the fuck is that? I mean, come on. What is that? What is that?
Is that true? It was 4 drives into the second half before he touched it.
I got a double.
It was the third one. It was
the third one he ran.
Oh, he did. He did. All right. I don't know. It was an unacceptable loss, and it's going to come without consequence. Kyle's not getting fired. Brock's not getting replaced. Dude, Trent Williams sucked tonight. Trent Williams with back-to-back. Remember when we were doing a show and I told you he's no Orlando Pace? He's no Orlando Pace. Trent Williams is, Kevin, I even think I told you, he's a little overrated. He makes mistakes in big moments sometimes. And Trent Williams, really good player. He sucked in the Super Bowl tonight. No other way to say, man. He had back-to-back penalties when you can't have back-to-back penalties because you're trying to get something going. I mean, it wasn't good. I wasn't good. And my ultimate fear that next year just comes dead on arrival. And look, everyone's very angry tonight, and everyone will be back and excited, for week 1. But tonight, this stings, and this offseason is going to sting. And I wonder what kind of a voice Kyle's going to have in his own locker room going forward. I mean, how many big games are you allowed to blow before you lose the room? I don't know.
So you're going blow. You're going Kyle blew this game. I can't go that far.
I won't say Kyle blew it. The entire team blew it. I mean, there's enough blame to go around. As long as it says head coach on his door, though, that's how it works. And
hey, Damon, 19 points after 4 quarters ain't going to cut it.
Well, 19 points. And think about it. The 19 points, right? Gimmick. They needed a gimmick play to score against the Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo had a better night than Kyle Shanahan. That's for sure. They had to use a gimmick play. By the way, Juwan Jennings at the 49ers won this game as a Super Bowl MVP. Awesome. Maybe Diamador Lenore would have gotten some consideration, but there's no way all the voters there would have seen what we saw out of him. I don't know, man. I kept on saying Kyle can't get on the plane without a Lombardi trophy. This motherfucker's going to get on the plane without the Lombardi trophy. He's a really good coach, but maybe that's where it ends. Maybe that's where it tops out. I don't know. Maybe he is Andy Reid. Andy Reid took 21 years to win a Super Bowl. Are you telling me the 49ers are going to give Kyle Shanahan 14 more years to figure this out? I don't know. I don't know. I just the Niners waited to the postseason to play their worst football of the year. They got here by the skin of their teeth in 2 totally uninspiring playoff games. And in this game, I don't know who is the inspiring performance tonight. McCaffrey did what he does. Juwan Jennings was your inspiring performance tonight. There you go. That's it. But
I think you got to give some respect though to I mean, that Chiefs defense is the best in the league, and Spags is as good as they come in big games. You have Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the field. You have Andy Reid dialing up plays. You have the best special teams unit in the league. Butker's a freaking absolute nails. I thought, yes, there was that moment where there was the 2 or 3 drives where, obviously they didn't capitalize on the turnovers. And that felt like very much old Kyle 2019. Wow, they're really selling this freaking thing all over again. I thought they bounced back pretty respectably. And especially like Kyle with the guts to call for that 4th and 3. They get the touchdown. And then I thought they kind of answered all the tests in the fourth quarter. Purdy could have had 2 game-winning drives. And it just came down to just stupid S that just happens in football games, like balls bouncing off of guys' feet and missed PATs and Chiefs fumbling 5 times and recovering 4 of them. Just stuff like that.
Did the 49ers win the coin toss in overtime?
They did.
And they decided to take the ball first, even though you know that you're going to get the ball back no matter what. Like, that's the new rule, right? I was saying, if the Niners can punch us in for 7, they're going to win the game right here. Patrick Mahomes doesn't even touch the ball. And people were like, no, the rule got changed. And I might have gotten that one wrong. Did I get that wrong?
Right.
Yeah. Right. And
both teams can touch the ball in overtime.
Yeah.
So if you know you're going to get the ball in overtime no matter what, why the fuck would you take it first? Why? Why? Why would you take it first? Because you're telling the other team, we're playing with 3 downs, but you get to play with 4.
So I totally agree with that. And apparently, and this is going to go against what I'm saying, because Kyle actually answered the question in the press conference. His rationale was that, let's say they go down, score a touchdown or field goal, then the Chiefs answer, then they're the first team to get the ball with a chance to end the game. But what I was thinking was like, in my mind, I was like, please don't, I don't want to see them back on the field playing defense, because they just had to give up a long drive to Mahomes. Like, the defense looked completely gassed. I didn't want to see him out on the field again.
Yeah, that's the only advantage. Otherwise, why wouldn't you, in college, you want the ball second, not first? And it's
But if we're playing under college rules here.
Well, it is like college rules.
So you want the ball second. I don't care. Well, I got a tired defense. You get 4 downs to play with. You know exactly what you got to do at the end of the game, and it's written in stone. There's no gray area as to what you get 4 downs to play with. It's a shame that they didn't stop Mahomes on 4th and 1. Had they done that, they win the Super Bowl, and we're not having an angry post-game show. But look, there are enough guys who matter to this team who didn't do what they needed to do tonight. And I think Kyle is chief among them, followed by Debo. He hurt his hamstring. He got back in the game. That's great. Dre Greenlaw pops his Achilles jumping up and down. That certainly hurt. And I think it's you got to go from soft zone to a little man-to-man there. And I do think Steve Wilkes even had a better game than Kyle Shanahan did. I'm not going to yell at Steve Wilkes tonight. I just don't want this to become a self-fulfilling prophecy that Kyle Shanahan can't win the big one. And that's the house he lives in. And that's the only house he'll be allowed to live in until he's either thrown out of it until he does it. And I don't know if the Niners are going to be back in the Super Bowl next year. I mean,
and he's not getting thrown out.
No, he's not. So, he's not getting thrown out. So here you are.
Or should he really be? But yeah, no, I mean, it was a disappointing game. The better Reid at this point's the better coach. Mahomes at this point's the better quarterback. Kansas City they made the plays when they needed to make the plays.
This is the Kansas City era. And the Niners are just living in it. They're not as good. When the chips are on the table and it's time to get it done, they do. Niners don't. End of story. And it sucks.
The interesting thing to me is, will they bring Wilkes back? And my guess is that there's some bad blood there and that he doesn't come back. But we'll see.
I would go out and I'd hire Bill Belichick. I mean, it's funny. It's your talking point from the season when you brought it up. If they don't get it done this year, I would go pay Bill Belichick more money than I'm paying Kyle Shanahan to come in and be this team's defensive coordinator.
That would be so sick.
That'd
You'd
be
get those
unbelievable.
special teams right too.
The Niners have a lot of good young DBs. Belichick could develop them. To Big 25, Shanahan will never win a Super Bowl as head coach. A match says just Mahomes time, middle of prime. LeBron, Eastern Conference run, Jordan era, etc. Hard to beat him. T5, Shanny loses this game once again by not running the ball. Christopher Lockwood, run it back, fix the right side of the O-line. I'd love to get Belichick as D coordinator. Love Purdy. We're not trading Debo. He was hurt. Yeah, he was hurt, but still. JD Mata, extra long commercial breaks in my non-professional
But
opinion.
he got better. He got better after the injury. Debo made his biggest impact on this game after he went out with the hamstring thing.
Yeah, but he also had a shoulder. Led to key injuries. Your thoughts? It is what it is. Great show, gentlemen. I don't think the commercial breaks led to injuries. I definitely don't.
It's a freak injury for Greenlaw, if that's what he's talking about.
And Greenlaw's been getting worked all year. Titus Moeller, I'd be so excited if the GOAT's son could be part of our wide receiver core. Would you want Brendan Rice? Could he be special? Would he be good fit for us? Yes, yes, and yes. I want him. I think I definitely would try to get him. He plays with a ton of urgency. Yeah, I mean, he's big and he plays with a lot of the same smarts and urgency as Jerry. He doesn't have Jerry's explosiveness, but he's got unbelievable ball skills and like desire to catch the football. I mean, he's a
lot bigger, isn't he, than Jerry?
He's like 6'4", 210. Jerry was like 6'2", 215. You know, they're about basically the same. He's a little
How
taller.
does Ray not just fall on that ball?
Oh, no. Yeah, that was a bad one.
And, Luter, who, we don't use his name all year. He's hardly on the field all year, and he makes, the biggest mistake in the biggest game of the year. And it was you can say it wasn't his mistake. It came down on his foot. Ray's got to, yell whatever the code word is to just get the hell away. Charlie, 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 whatever it is. This team's I would fire the special teams coordinator tonight.
Who's a veteran, Brian Schneider. Gigi says all Romo and Nance talked about when the 49ers had the ball was Casey's defense and Spagnuolo getting his second ring. Kansas City's ball again, all about Mahomes. Christopher Lockwood, Wilkes had a great Super Bowl. Disguising coverages, I'm sure he meant. The Chiefs hold, they grab and let go. In overtime, our D-line got tired. That's probably the case. Matthew Rowley says in overtime, Wilkes was calling coverages like he thought OT ended after the first quarter. Soft coverage made no sense unless he thought there was no time pressure. Yeah, I hate that kind of bend but don't break fourth quarter game plan. Just never.
There was even one point where they had 5 guys so far back in the secondary, Romo circled them. Like, why are all these guys playing so far off the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, you gotta compete. Jack Colvin, hard loss, but this team is great. Proud of them. I hope Bleacher Report is right. I'm not sure what that means. What's Bleacher Report reporting?
Oh, about the odds of them being the Super Bowl favorites.
Oh, I got you.
They're just like they seem like they might be destined to be just like one of those critically acclaimed teams that we all remember, like the Phoenix Suns with Nash or something, like a team that just everybody remembers, but it's just they ran into Mahomes.
You got to win championships to truly be remembered. Francisco Leon, if we fired Kyle, the Commanders would take back Quinn and hire him. Come on, guys. Yeah, there's no question. Flavor _ Reborn Restorations. Bottom line is this loss is due to wasted momentum. Niners had many daggers but didn't use them. I do blame Kyle. He doesn't read the room, only his script. A lot of people blaming Shanahan.
So there was a point where Brock started, he completed his first 5 throws of the game. He's 8 of 10 for 105 yards in the first quarter. But then he went 4 for 12 from the second quarter to midway through the third quarter. So why are you throwing with him on every first down, Kyle? Guys, whatever rhythm he was in, he's now out of it. Why do you keep on asking him to throw on first down? Give the ball to Christian McCaffrey. What the fuck? And McCaffrey, again, he even had, how many carries did he have? Christian McCaffrey, it's not like they forgot about him, but they needed even more of him. 12 22 carries, 80 yards for Christian McCaffrey to go along with 8 catches for 80 yards. Guy had 160 yards. Probably should
30 touches is pretty good. If you said to me, give me a touch total that I want, I would have said right around 30 touches. He got 30 touches. I can't complain that he should have gotten more. I mean, I hear what you're saying. If he hadn't gotten 30 touches, if he'd gotten 20 touches, like 15 carries, I agree. But, 30 touches, 22 carries. That's a good, that's a lot. That's solid. It's, I could have been had a few more as well. James Foster said,
I'm sorry, but why not run Christian McCaffrey on the goal line and set up a 4th and goal where you now are, so you didn't kick the field goal, but now you're given 98 yards to Kansas City. The minute Moody kicked that overtime field goal, the Niners were losing that game.
I agree. I mean, it was a huge momentum shift. I'm sure Kansas City thought, oh yeah, well, we got this now. But Mahomes still had to drive the length of the field. I mean, he did it, but nobody knows for sure he's going to do it.
Damon, did you happen to see the replay of that 3rd and 4 where basically Chris Jones just completely, we were showing it earlier, Chris Jones basically got through completely untouched. McKivitz just didn't pick him up.
Yes.
Just straight to Purdy. Meanwhile, Ayuk was wide open for a touchdown. Jennings was open for a touchdown. Kittle was open on a little check and, block and release. And so it's like, if McKivitz just picks that up, it's almost like Kyle calls the clutch play.
McKivitz wasn't blocking
touchdown.
anyone. He was just
McKivitz didn't touch
they
anyone.
score a touchdown or they get the first down, and they're going to score there. The other thing that I think the Niners really failed to capitalize on was after the pick at the Kansas City 44-yard line. They go 3 and out. First play is Purdy incomplete short right pass, and next play false start on Banks puts him at 2nd and 15 back at the 49. Then 3rd and 15, Purdy scrambles for 4 yards to the KC 45. How about on first down, give the ball to McCaffrey there and pick up 5 yards, and now you're in maybe even field goal range for Moody, but you didn't gain a yard. You actually went backwards. It's like they lost a yard. They ended up 4th and 11. Run the ball.
Yeah,
that's where they needed to run the ball. And I go back to this. I don't know how many times the Chiefs stopped them running to the left side. A couple times early on, but they abandoned it. At the end in the 4th quarter in the drive, they were just mowing the Chiefs backwards. I mean, the Chiefs were exhausted. You could hear Romo saying this defense is gassed. Just, that's the one thing that Bill Walsh would do. I remember the drive in 81 against the Cowboys, Linville Elliott. They just kept giving him the ball. Walsh just kept giving him the ball, sweep left, 5 yards, 8 yards, 5, never hardly passed on that drive, that winning drive, Montana to Clark. Kyle doesn't seem to, the one thing I don't think he does well is just keep exposing, until you stop it, just keep doing it. And it's like, it's like in a basketball, if you got a pick and roll and it's just open, you just keep going pick and roll, picking on the guy that can't guard you. I don't know. It was frustrating because, I think they could have run the ball at will. The Chiefs were 28th in 28th in the league in 21 personnel. And every time they had 21 personnel, Niners picked up yards and then they'd go away from it. Juice is sitting over on the sidelines half the time, or they're going empty formation when, I don't know. That was my frustration.
There's a lot of frustrating parts of this game for sure. James Foster said Chiefs had 5 fumbles and lost only 1.
Larry, I know you got a lot of chats to get through tonight, and I don't want to. I'm gonna dip out really soon. It's been a long night. We're on it. Wake up 8 a.m. Monday. We got a lot. I need to go upstairs, and my wife is a huge Niners fan. She's pissed. I'm going to go have a cocktail with her, eat a taco, like an actual taco. That's got nothing to, she made taco.
Nice.
Good night, everybody. But this was a game. Fellas, this was a game where you're right. 30 touches feels like a lot for Christian McCaffrey. But it's not into the box score when you open it up and you're like, oh, McCaffrey really did give it the office tonight. While you were watching the game, they weren't running it enough. They needed to run it more. In real time in that game, they needed to run it more. Kyle and his quest for balance are getting too cute or showing everyone how good he is. I don't know. I just like Dan's right. You got a defense that is susceptible to the run as good as they've been all year, and you're doing well with the run. Give the ball to Elijah Mitchell. I mean, Jordan Mason. I can't even believe I'm saying it. Give him the ball on the goal line. I don't know. It was wildly frustrating, and it just, there's so much blame to go around. That's really Kyle's only get out of jail free card, because there's a lot of blame to go around on this. Special teams, punt return, Moody's missed point after touchdown, the fumble of McCaffrey, the injury to Greenlaw. There's just so much didn't happen in a game where you needed it all to happen to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who are, again, it's their era. The Niners are just living in it. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are so much better at this than Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. And the only saving grace of the Niners is that Brock has improved dramatically in the 2 years that we've seen him. He needs to improve dramatically again in a full off season. And he's got to get a lot. He was good tonight. Got to get even better to win a Super Bowl, apparently. So, hard tortilla shell, meat, hot sauce, an actual taco is what I'm going to go eat and have a drink. But thank you guys for making me a part of this show. Larry and Kevin, my thank you to yous were well documented in Las Vegas. The rest of you guys, thank you so very, very much for making me feel a part of this. And I know a lot of you guys root for the 49ers for real. Like, I'm just wearing this shirt tonight because it was sent to me. I didn't grow up a Niner fan. Living here, being invested in them, obviously I want really good things for them. My wife is a diehard Niners fan, and she needs a cocktail. So I'm going to go have a drink with her. And I thank you all so very much. Like, subscribe. Larry, 8 a.m. tomorrow. I'll see you, brother.
See you then. Go have a taco.
Bruce. I'm about to take off too, fellas. So I'll leave you with some parting words. This hurts, and the young fan base has been, all Niners fans have been feeling this a lot lately, all too much. We know this feeling of hurt. I can't wait till the all 22 comes out and I can see what was the game plan to beat Spags blitzes, because I didn't see it on the game tape. So I'm going to go back. I'm expecting that all 22 to be out tomorrow, which I will have a show tomorrow. Hey, Larry, can you put my name up here? Maybe drop off the super for a second, because my goal was to get to 2K subscribers this season, and I'm short. I'm not there yet, but I think if everyone watching right now subscribes right here, Bay Area Baller 18, that'll get me to 2K, and I'll be forever grateful. So I got a show tomorrow, straight out of the Bay with 3 of my buddies. We'll break it down, but I'm really curious to see what was the game plan to beat Spags blitzes, because I thought Purdy was running for his life, and the answers weren't there. So maybe I'll see what the game plan was via all 22, but it hurts, fellas. But hey, I appreciate all you guys. I've had a blast coming on here, breaking down the game. Larry, thanks for giving me the op. And
absolutely, bro.
Hey, we'll talk soon. We'll get some off-season action cooking, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, baller.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Baller
Hey,
out.
Area Baller.
23 baller.
Join his channel. Yeah, I mean, this has been a tough one, man. This has been a tough one. There's no question. It's a brutal defeat. I understand why people want to blame Shanahan. To me, it wasn't like, oh, Shanahan gagged this game away. It wasn't like that. I think to be super critical of Shanahan is just kind of to hold his feet can and probably should be held to the fire on everything because the buck stops with him. I would have liked to have seen, I guess, a little bit more running in the third quarter. But you know what?
I disagree with that take. I didn't want to get into it with every single person because I feel like I'm fighting the world on this, but I think you could make the argument that he should have ran on about 3 plays. The one that Danny was saying, where
I agree.
The 3rd and 4, you can make that argument. I like that.
Oh, with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, or no, yeah. With
2
almost
minutes?
no time. No, it was almost less than that. I think right when they
Yeah,
were
it
on
was
goal
at the
line,
2-minute warning. They came out of the 2-minute warning, 3rd and 4.
right? And they go for the pass, right?
Right.
And it doesn't, and they kick a field goal. You can make an argument for that. I think you can make an argument that starting the 3rd quarter, that there were 2 drives where they started with the pass, that maybe one of those should have been a run. But because I really think it's situational. I think it's situational that you decide to pass on the first play and you get negative yardage. So now you're looking at, one was 2nd and 18, the other was 2nd and 15. That's probably in Kyle's mind an automatic pass play, 2nd and long. So I think that's kind of more of just a, happenstance, or more of just like what the Niners were put into because of the way it went. So I can't get behind the boat of just, I mean, like you gave Christian McCaffrey 28 touches or what
30.
was it? It was
30
touches. It wasn't like he didn't get him the ball. He ran for 3.6 a carry. It wasn't like he was torching
and
him.
Debo was hurt and Kittle was hurt. So who knows exactly?
And Kittle was coming off that toe injury. Who knows if he was fully 100%. I'll say this, the turnovers, the Niners had 2 turnovers, and it cost them at least 3 from McCaffrey, maybe 7. Then the turnover on the punt gave the Chiefs 7. And then the missed extra point, that's a difference of 11 points right there minimum, maybe as much as 15 if they score a touchdown. So whereas the Chiefs' 2 turnovers that the Niners got, they didn't capitalize on them. They didn't get nothing out of it, the Niners. So the Chiefs ended up getting the 7 off the 1. And then, they did blow it with, Pacheco fumbling, but those turnovers by McCaffrey and then the botched punt, that could have been the difference. Forget the Moody extra point. I mean, throw that in too, but the Niners were totally dominating on the opening drive. They were just, where was the fumble was down at what, the 20-yard line, 25? Something
it was
like
at like the 25. And also just to another kind of like just slightly pro Shanahan point, like, yes, those three drives, not good, didn't capitalize. But then like, you can't say that's Shanahan's fault when the ball goes off the guy's foot and immediately you spot Kansas City 7. And then what did the 49ers do? They go into the 4th quarter down 3. They immediately go on a super long methodical drive to score a touchdown, 75 yards. Then the 49ers defense gives up a field goal. Then the 49ers drive down, 7-play, 40-yard drive, 4-minute drive, what could have been a game-winning drive.
Right.
And they kick a field goal. And then
that was so
the 49ers
crucial, right?
Yeah. And then the 49ers defense allows a field goal. And then the 49ers start with the ball in overtime. And they have another super long, methodical 13-play, 66 yards, 7.5-minute drive. And they get just right down to the point of and then it's a matter of, whatever.
And to your point, Ryan, that drive right after the 1-play touchdown off of the punt, Kyle Shanahan made the gutsy call to go for it on 4th and 3, and it worked out. And
yeah.
He called
Hell
a
yeah.
great call. It was a great call and a great drive by Kyle. So
To me,
it's
the
ultimately
one that is if you can sit there and say, well, what are you doing? Was unless he thought his defense was gassed, why when he wins the toss and the coin toss in overtime, does he take the ball?
Well, he did
I mean,
explain the 2-for-1 idea that he would have the ball if both teams scored, that he could close out the game instead of Mahomes. Because if it went the other way around,
that is true. Yeah.
Mahomes gets the ball, scores. Niners have to come down and score. Now Mahomes has the ball, and you're not
All
going to
he
stop
needs is a
him.
field goal. Yeah.
Yeah, all he would need is a field goal, right? So, plus the Niners were gassed on that last 2-minute
Yeah,
drive.
I didn't think about it like that. I didn't know that there was a new rule really until they showed it on the screen. I'm like, oh shit, this is the new. But that is right. You kind of, if you do take the ball, you do still have like the final kill shot.
Right. I think it's a good move because it's 2 possessions to 1. It's almost like scoring at the end of the half and then starting the next half with the ball again.
It's
Hold on
kind
one
of a
second.
give and
Be right
take.
back.
It's kind of a give and take because you can elect to receive it and then get the final kill shot if both teams score, but the other team has the advantage of knowing what they need to
True.
do.
But just
Right.
for that one drive, have the Niners put it in the end zone instead of stalling at the 9-yard line, I think the Niners win this game.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think if the Chiefs do happen to go down and score a touchdown, also, it was, again, what I said earlier. Once they got to the 35-yard line, there was no more pressure on Mahomes. He knew he had a field goal in the bag. It's a 53-yard field goal. That's
I know
that's
that's
like an
the
extra
difference.
point.
That's like the difference of having Butker. Like all of a sudden you're playing with house money. Now
Yeah,
it's like we can
so-
just mess around and
Yeah, you
try
got 35-yard line, so that's the time. Like, okay, we can do all kinds of plays and get us, in position to score the game winner. And once they got it down to the 10-yard line, it was like, okay, they're not gonna. It doesn't look like they're gonna hold them this time.
Couple more supers here. Juan Baldera says, pitch out to CMC on 3rd and 4. He gets 4 yards minimum. I wish they had pitched it more the way Elway did to TD under Mike Shanahan. We'll be back. Go Niners. Jacob Anthony. What does he say?
I've
I've-
Green L. Should we keep him because of injuries?
I think Greenlaw.
Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw. Not sure if we keep him because of injuries.
Is he a free agent?
No, he's not a free agent. He's not a free agent. Davis says
Yeah.
silver lining. No one here bought a Super Bowl ticket.
Oh,
My
God, could
God.
you imagine?
We were there this week. It was a lot of fun, but man, I'm glad I'm not there right now. Valen says 3rd and 4 post 2-minute warning. You pass. The run got you to the doorstep of a touchdown and OT, but you pass again. Kyle's the common denominator in both Super Bowl losses. McKivitz needs to be replaced, though.
Again, not to be the guy that is the Kyle defender, but it was a good play call. Had many people open in that play. It was just a
He had 2 people open and Kittle. He had 0 time. And as far as the blitzes go, Purdy was sacked 3 times for only like 8 yards total. But he picked up the blitz a lot and was hitting guys over the middle on several of those blitzes. That one, the last one though, with Jones in 3rd and 4, he just had 0 time. He didn't. There was nothing he could do. He couldn't even. Jones was coming at him like a lion was about ready to pounce and jump. He couldn't even move to scramble and get out of that. He just had to throw it. Yeah. Again, it's just one of those things. You are playing. Again, I bring this back because I know we all played sports at some level. You are playing a team that was the best defensive team in the league. And yes, they only got 19 points off of
They only allowed 24 3 times this year. Like,
Yeah.
they were insane.
I mean,
They
fact
averaged 17 all year allowed, Kansas City. They gave up 17 on average, and the Niners got 19.
Yeah, the Niners got nine in the second half. Should have been 10. The Chiefs were only allowing like 7 points all season long in the second half as a team.
Someone, I can't remember who said it. I'm not calling anyone out, but someone said like, 19 points in the first 4 quarters is not going to cut it. It's like, cut it for the Chiefs.
Yeah,
cut
exactly.
it for the Chiefs. This game was one play. It was one play, and that's the difference between winning and losing and celebrating and saying that everyone needs to be fired. So it's like, I'm sorry, dude. Like it was good defense, and the Niners had good play.
Hey, Niners played great. They basically shut Pacheco down for the most of the game. That's been the Niners' weakness, as we saw in the playoffs. They shored that up. They were not. I mean, there was a couple of plays where they stopped them for losses, several 3rd and short ones, and how about the time that didn't they stop them on 4th down at once, or I can't remember where he was short and maybe
they shut him down 4th and 1. No,
third and 1, and then I couldn't remember. I know they shut him down a couple times, but yeah.
Season for Reason says again, trade Debo and Brittle, draft Jerry Rice's kid and a tight end. Connor R says, did the Niners blow it or did the Chiefs win it? I would say the Chiefs won it more than anything.
I mean, man,
that's what the Chiefs do. What did they do last year against the Eagles? Eagles played a fucking great game. Mahomes just came down in the last drive and beat them.
Yeah, 38-35 last year, 25-22 this year. I mean, 3 points they win.
Not to be fatalistic, but I agree with what Damon's saying. What he said about, we're just living in the Chiefs era right now.
Yeah.
The Niners are a good team living in their era.
Yeah, Mr. Block East 2022 or 22 said, so what's the main move we need for next year? I mean, I think the main move you need somebody on your defensive front outside of Bosa who is nasty. And you don't have that player right now. Hargrave helped a little bit, but Armstead's older. The rest of the guys are just kind of okay. They need another defensive monster up front. They could also use a blue chip right tackle. They could use another big time corner and more talent and speed at linebacker. But I would say they need either a D tackle or a DN. That's just great.
Could they get Chris Jones if they let Armstead go and maybe traded?
I mean, if
Debo?
you wanted to, you can let any number of guys go and throw all kinds of money in the salary cap era. Eventually it catches up with you. But yeah, if they wanted to go after Chris Jones, they could make some monster effort for Chris Jones. No question if they wanted to.
How about Jones and Hargrave at the defensive tackles with with Bosa and I don't know who will be back at the other defensive end if Gregory's going to come back or Farrell.
We got to start developing guys. I feel like we can't keep getting all these big money defensive line.
Drake Jackson needs to step up.
Well, then they've got to find somebody in the draft who's big time.
Hey,
Stewart,
I got to bounce. I have an assignment that's due.
Okay,
in a couple minutes, so I gotta bounce.
All right, no problem. Stuart Damon says, how do the fans recover? Why have faith? Oh my God, why have faith? Jeff, Larry, I just don't know how to stay a football fan after this. Been a diehard Niner fan since I was 7. Hell, some of the effing players feel the same way and leave. Yeah, well, I would say stick with it. Stick with it.
I was actually listening to Kyle in that you played earlier. I thought he sounded like he was ready to break down, man. He looked crushed.
Oh, I'm sure everybody is.
That's about as down as I've ever seen him. And I feel sorry for him because it's like, man, they played well enough to win, but made a couple mistakes. They were ahead in overtime. And they didn't, somebody said
they were
earlier,
ahead with 2 minutes left. They were ahead in overtime.
Yeah. Somebody said earlier, 10, how many 10-point games you're going to blow. Well, they were up 10. They were only up 10-3 at half. Okay.
Yeah. And they were down 3 going into the 4th.
Yeah. They were down 3 and they came back, went up 16-13, missed the extra point. They come down, score, and then they turn around and bring it down and score again. They were just so many, just a play here or play there from winning. And that's just the way it goes. You're playing, arguably Mahomes is right up there with Brady and Montana as the greatest of all time. And at this pace, we may be talking Mahomes is the greatest in a few more years.
You had your opportunities. I mean, he made the plays. I mean, one team wins. He's a great competitor. You saw why. He made more plays. As simple as that. Max McGloin, did anyone else cover their ears so they did not have to hear Romo? Greg Olsen would have been a huge improvement. Not a big Romo guy. Carson Taylor, fuck it. Go get Bill Belichick. He'll improve the DBs. I said it a month ago. Jeff Taylor, of course, the season's a failure, Damon. Come on. Mentos says, great show like usual. Do you think Greenlaw's injury could have been caused by practicing on a sponge of a field all week? No, he's been complaining about Achilles pain for about 8 weeks now. So, in fact, when I talked to him earlier this week and I said, hey, how's the body feeling? He didn't say good, so I get the feeling that he kind of knew that he was compromised for this game. Crypto Dream says, Mark Davis thanks all the Kansas City Niner fans for the cheddar. Las Vegas made $1 billion. I'll let that sink in, Raiders. Seymour Duckett's difference in the details. O-line was rough. Andy's strength coached up the O-line regardless of who's in there. Shanahan hasn't elevated an O-line in a big game. The Niners O-line could be better. Dazza says, at what point do we admit buyer's remorse on Debo? He's occasionally great, but not worth the money. Yeah, I mean, Debo was dinged up in this game. He looked damn good against Philly earlier this year. Gregory Nairmore, any given Sunday. Roberto Davis says, Larry, do you think Wilkes is gone? I do think Wilkes is probably gone. I'm not sure why, but I think it sounds like he'll be gone. Titus Moeller, maybe I'm just reading the tea leaves wrong there, but that'll be my guess. Titus Moeller, I just feel like the Niners have more talent than the Chiefs. Do y'all think the Niners have more stars? Or is it that y'all think they have more depth? Or is it just Mahomes and Kelsey tipping the scales? I think the Niners have as much big name depth as anybody, but Mahomes is, when you have a great quarterback, you have a great play caller, you have 2 or 3 or 4 real great players on defense, you're going to be tough to beat, and that's what they've got right now. And the Niners got close, but they couldn't get it done. Flav says Kyle Shanahan was actually good compared to past big games. Muffed a punt, missed PAT, fumbled, and 4 people got injured. Brock was one of about 4 guys that weren't scared of the moment. Their confidence feels fake. Yeah, I think that's fair. John Edwards, I love how Damon tells it the way it is. He's right. Connor R says NFL is all about the quarterback. Let's hope Purdy is the one. Francisco Leone, Damon is all of us tonight. A Match says, just talk to Gary. He says, nobody cares. Roberto Davis's baller of this game was a hit punch. Matthew Rowley says, please remember it's 30 touches with 1 extra quarter. He had 15 carries at the end of the regulation, not 22. Todd Tran, running back is a mistake. Need an 86 like youth injection. Year early, better than year late. Old in many places. Need new ideas on offense. Yeah, some kind of a trade back where you add 10, 15 players might be a good draft plan. Joe Castaneda says, why so many no back sets? Romo was calling a better game. Yeah, the reason that they go to the empty so often is it creates space and opens up the passing lanes for Purdy. I think that's why they like it. He also feels comfortable making decisions. When you have a quarterback that processes as fast as he does, I think it's an advantage to go to the empty. And they've had great numbers this year going empty. I think that's why you saw it. Max McGloin, we all need to eat a taco. There you go. We all know what he's talking about. Dazza says, if you're worried about giving CMC too many touches, you have 2 other running backs. Elijah Mitchell actually ran quite well. Yeah, they showed no interest in using their backup running backs this year. Flav, we can complain about everything Kyle Shanahan didn't do perfectly after the fact. The players got to take care of the football to win a fucking Super Bowl. If they win the turnover margin, they win the game. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Ramon Gonzalez, too many 3-and-outs because CMC was forgotten. Impressed, shut down Pacheco, Kelsey most of the night. Gibson Thomas looked lost on the PMs on the Patrick Mahomes Hail Mary. Flav also 4 missed holding calls on Bosa again. Yeah, I saw a bunch tonight. Titus Muller, I'm a fan of Kyle, but I do hope he'll examine himself for weaknesses. He didn't really take any responsibility in his presser. Said he didn't get away from the run. Hopefully he'll have more to say after looking at the film. He's not the guy who takes criticism the best. Flav says Shanahan's play call didn't work. He should have called something different. Genius take. Number one, complaining that he threw on 4th down and kept them in the game. Players have to execute, bottom line.
That's, that's facts. It comes down to players. And I think, I know Damon was a little hot about it, and I think he would be like the first one to say it comes down to the players, right? Like it comes down to players making plays.
Yeah.
Yep. It always does.
Yeah. It's, I'm much more when my team loses, the last thing I want to do is blame refs. The second last thing I want to do is blame a coach that I think is top tier and not worth replacing. I always want to look towards the players. The more great players you have, the better your team does. The bottom line is they ran out of some players. I mean, the Debo got hurt, Kittle got hurt, Greenlaw got hurt. They had some guys at the end of the year that they really needed to be, pillars that could not be leaned on anymore. Greenlaw, Kittle, Debo are pillars. Greenlaw, Kittle, and Debo tonight, were barely contributors. So, it just kind of shows that injuries are the equalizing factor, and the best way to overcome that is depth. To me, if you look at the 49ers, they need to be a little bit more dynamic weapon-wise. They need to have at least one more either running back or wide receiver that's big time. They need to find a second tight end that can catch the ball. They need to find a couple more offensive linemen. They're going to need at least 3 or 4 new defensive linemen. I love Jalen Graham, but they got to get him on the field. And they could probably use a better defensive backfield coach and maybe another safety and maybe another cornerback there. So they have a number of needs for sure, and how they fill those needs and coaching would be nice. I mean, heck, if a guy like Belichick wanted to come be your defensive coordinator, I think you'd be a fool not to listen. Valance says, how many double-digit Super Bowl leads Kyle got to blow? Yeah, there's no question. They've had leads before. Jay Buies Yahar says the problem with Kyle's rationale when it comes to taking the ball first in OT is he has to go for a touchdown and not settle for a field goal. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When you don't take it first in overtime, and you know what you need. DP says BP Brock Purdy was playing with man down with Debo limping around. Should have sat him. Run was getting blown up. Brock Purdy had no time. Good game considering. Yeah, no, I think overall he played pretty well.
Think of this though. The Chiefs, when you kick that field goal in overtime, the Chiefs only had 1 touchdown, and it was off of the muffed punt. Butker had kicked 4 field goals, and so the odds of them going down and getting a touchdown, it is Mahomes, but he hadn't done it in 4 quarters.
Right. It wasn't like it was a slam.
It
wasn't a for sure.
No. Right. Mahomes did not go on one drive the whole game to give them a touchdown until the very end.
Titus, we've been saying that for years. Titus Muller, Larry and company, thank you for this outlet for your fellow faithful all season long. It has enriched the joy of victories and mitigated the impact of losses. I really appreciate it and look forward to more. Thank you, Titus. You're a good man. Appreciate you. Flav, understand Kyle Shanahan's reasoning, but he's saying, I trust my D to hold them by taking the ball first. But then he didn't really by not going for the touchdown in overtime. Regardless, we had more than enough chances to win. Yeah, there's no question about that. They had their chances. Terrence Sullivan, game was lost in the first half. Bay Area.
They could have been up a lot. They could have been up by 17.
No question. They had opportunities that they've squandered. Bay Area says when you get the ball second in overtime, you get 4 downs opposed to 3. Kansas City would have kicked a field goal on that 4th down. Mahomes scramble. That OT field goal lost the game. I know exactly what he's saying there. I kind of agree. Flav says Purdy's composure was like a quarterback that already won a Super Bowl. It was truly incredible. If you don't think that he's going to be better than Breeze, a top quarterback, you shouldn't be talking about football. Well, Breeze, Flav, is a Hall of Famer. So if you don't think he's better than Breeze, you shouldn't be talking football. That's kind of, I might be a little, I hear what you're saying, but Breeze was a Hall of Famer. JAM Nation, thank you. Luis Fuentes, born in 94, grew up in the Mission. This hurts. No question. CGC Ghost 73, who is the potential biggest loss this offseason? Is it feasible to more or less run it back? Or are we looking at another big loss of talent like this past summer? I think they're going to let most of their free agents walk. They're probably going to have to rebuild their D-line because Givens, Kinlaw, Cleveland Farrell, and a couple others are free agents. I think they have 6 free agents along the defensive line.
Who's the free agents
Chase
again,
Young.
Larry?
Chase Young, Kevin Givens, Javon Kinlaw, everybody except for Bosa, Armstead, Drake, and Beal are free agents.
And you're losing Greenlaw probably till playoff time if he does the conventional Aaron Rodgers type Achilles surgery. I mean, that's a 12-month minimum for most guys, which maybe 9 to 12 months. 9 to 12 months is what.
It's not going to be easy. They're going to have to look for some D linemen for sure. JAM Nation, thank you. Flav says Wilkes going soft after that play for a loss in overtime, then blitzing after was atrocious. And why did the D look much better in every way tonight and not that way all year? He's okay, but definitely gone.
I agree. I think he should definitely be gone. Hey, guys, I'm going to jump. I got to go eat some taco. Everybody, this was a great year. You know, it's even though I don't know if it was just being able to be in the locker room last year that's maybe kind of stifled some of my like fandom sadness, but I don't know. I'm just like really happy for. I'm still happy for the team. I'm still happy for Purdy. I don't know. Purdy answered so many questions. I thought there were so many ways that the 49ers were going to lose this game. And I thought there was a really good chance that, you know, we might see a shaky Purdy and have to shake it off. And there's going to be all this discourse, but I'm coming away feeling confident. And like D Bruce said, you know, maybe Purdy has to get better next year. I think there totally is an opportunity for that to happen. I think that's like one, if you're like trying to go positive spin on next year, like he's totally a young dude. This was like his first full season as a starter. He was awesome. Got a bunch of playoff experience, showed up, looked like a vet in the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Maybe he takes it to even another level next year. It's possible. It's absolutely possible. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for doing this all year. Much love to everyone in the chat. Subscribe to West Coast Bias if you want Warriors content, which by the way, I will say the Warriors, I mean, that Steph Curry game winner, so sick. And now they are, I think they are dead even. They're 500. And I'm just throwing it out there. The 2022 Celtics team that went to the finals was also 500 at the All-Star break. So I think it's time to start getting a little delusional and maybe we spin zone ourselves into a Warriors deep playoff run. Kuminga looks like a legit number 2 option. Maybe Cyrus was right. So yeah, can't wait to talk Dubs. It's going to be a while before I talk Giants though. But yeah, definitely subscribe to West Coast Bias for that. Later,
all right,
boys.
Later, Rye.
Later, Rye.
There you go.
Wow.
And couple more supers, and then we'll have our final thoughts and jet for the door. We got this one. Paul Moon, let's follow the Giants and hire a JH like quarterback from the Korean football. Oh, Jung-Hoo Lee like quarterback from the Korean Football League this offseason. Is there a Giants live chat coming soon?
Join NorCal Sports Network. You'll hear it tomorrow night.
If the Giants do anything interesting, I'll talk about it. Until then, no. Words of wisdom, 49ers lost this more than the Chiefs won it. Okay? I'm willing to go there. Flav says we will win once the entire team can come out as composed as Purdy in a game that big. Praying his real confidence rubs off on the rest of the team. Steve Basuccio, Kansas City 13 points at the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Niners had 9 points in the second half. D played. Shanahan did what he does. Lose. All pro roster still can't. Steve, not happy. Anthony Conlon, both teams made enough mistakes to lose. We were just the unfortunate ones. Batman 29. Why did the Bucs in the Super Bowl go to Kansas City or due to Kansas City that we didn't? Well, they rushed Mahomes better. They got a lead and their linebackers blitzed him and got him to the ground. And, that's really, they did a great job of rushing Mahomes. Flav says that muff punt could have been a 14-point swing. Oh, I know. That was a crusher. 808 Niner got the interception, went 3 and out, didn't convert third down when it counted in the fourth in overtime. Kyle Shanahan comes up short again. Something's got to change. Not saying fire Kyle Shanahan. And Flav says, Larry, Brock was the most composed guy in the field. Breeze wasn't doing that his second year. I don't think people realize how elite between the years he really is. With Kyle Shanahan, he may be a top 10 for a long time. I hear you. I'm just saying Breeze is a Hall of Famer. Cosmo, sorry, Debo is not worth his cap hit. Yeah, he was dinged up late in the year here. Flav, as soon as Kyle Shanahan realizes that he can get him out of the effing pocket and good things happen whenever he does, it will add a new dimension. And Tech Sonata says, love your show, Larry. Was in Grant's stream and came here for some Purdy and Niners love. Oh, I thought that was the last one. Dazza says, instead of getting Belichick as defensive coordinator, why not get Bieniemy as offensive coordinator? Yeah, tell Kyle he's going to have an offensive coordinator. That should go good. Steven Draper, Kyle gave Patrick Mahomes an opportunity to play for 4-down football in overtime. Yeah, by going first. Flav, last comment. I told you JJ was the dark horse for MVP. That was the mismatch. Should have went to him more. Yeah, I threw out Jair Brown as an MVP long shot, and I thought he played pretty good too. Yeah. Danny, you got a final thought on this one? We had 219 super chats.
Wow.
219 super chats. Wow. That is an unbelievable number of super chats.
Yeah. I just think, if you were not a fan of either team, just watching the game, like 30 of the other teams across the league, or 28, was there 32 or 30, whatever. I always forget. There's
32.
32, yeah. So 30 other favorite teams, just watching the game. I think you would have a different opinion of the game. I think you would say that was a great game. This wasn't a Dan Campbell obvious, choke job by the head coach, where the Niners were fortunate to even be here today because of the way Dan Campbell botched the NFC Championship. But I'll say this. If I had to say one play that probably turned the game, it was the punt, the play off of Luter's foot, because Niners were stopping Mahomes. They weren't moving the ball. You catch that ball, fair catch it, whatever. And that guy's a booming punter, and he just hit it straight up in the air, and it wasn't as deep. And that's why McLeod wasn't under the ball, because he was, the guy was bombing 60-yard punts. So it's just a bad break. It was just kind of one of those things that you just got to go, man, it barely hit his foot, it just caught his heel or whatever.
And he had his back turned and everything.
Yeah.
But, you got to get away. Your awareness has got to be better. But
I don't even know if, you wonder, did he hear McLeod? Could he hear McLeod saying get away? who knows? We'll never, probably get their full story on it. But I think if the Niners retain the ball on that play, they're up 10-6. Maybe they go down, at least get a field goal. Who knows? But that's why they play the games. And I thought overall, few misfortunes, things happen, few breakdowns, but it was an entertaining game to watch nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes because he wins games like this. It's part of the reason he's Mahomes.
Yeah.
Kyle wasn't perfect. The team kind of ran out of some players in some ways. I kind of think they also made some mistakes. I'll give you an example of a mistake that I think they made. Jalen Graham's a really good football player, right?
Yeah.
They didn't bring him along at all. So they kept using Greenlaw even when he was hurt late in the year. And it's like, Jesus Christ, use D. Winters, use Jalen Graham. These guys are bouncing around the locker room. Develop those guys. You couldn't have used those guys against Arizona or one of those games and told Greenlaw to shut it down. And to me, it's like you knew you needed a fresh Greenlaw in the playoffs, and they didn't get a fresh Greenlaw in the playoffs because they didn't use their depth well enough. So I don't know. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a lot more carries for JP Mason and Elijah Mitchell, and I would have liked to have seen a lot less touches for CMC. I would have liked to have seen a lot less run for Warner and Greenlaw, and I would have wanted to use the depth a little bit better and try to get to this spot a little bit fresher. Instead, you let McCaffrey wasn't 100%. You didn't really use Mitchell or Mason, even though they're both really talented. Graham is a stud, and people are going to talk about him next year. I guarantee you, by week 7 or 8 of next year, you're going to hear this. Man, Jalen Graham looks really good. How come they didn't activate him at all last year? And people are going to be like, as this guy's piling up 10, 11, 12 tackle games, people are going to be like, why didn't he play more last year? And they just didn't show any way to develop Winters or Graham. They didn't get him on the field. They got Greenlaw so compromised physically that he was rolled into this game with absolutely nothing, and they lost him. And it probably was the difference between winning and losing. And, this happened to them last time around as well. I mean, they lost DJ Jones last time, and DJ was a major, major run defense guy, and they just lost him. And then, sure enough, Damian Williams ran wild in the Super Bowl for Kansas City, and it was just enough to get him over. So, things like that matter. Not having Greenlaw, not having DJ Jones, those things matter and ultimately can cost you football games. And in tonight's case, it may have cost him exactly that. So, anyway, that's my final thought on this. I mean, I know there's lots of people who want to blame Shanahan, and I'm going to watch the game again right now and decide exactly how much I want to blame Shanahan myself. But I just think that when you look at this team, I always go to the depth chart. Go look at the depth chart, and that will tell you the whole story. And to me, like on the Niner depth chart, I mean, Debo, Danny Gray didn't come of age. Debo was too beat up in the biggest games of the year to help them in the playoffs. The offensive line is good on the left side. It's pretty average on the right side. They're only really one deep at tight end when it comes to any kind of regular receiver that they can lean on. So Kittle is a guy who's got to play hurt. Purdy was really good. McCaffrey was really good. I think they've got depth at running back that they kind of underutilized. I think they have depth at linebacker that they kind of underutilized. And other guys wind up getting hurt. D-line wise, last year T.Y. McGill helped. This year, not as much. Sebastian Joseph Day, not the answer. Beal is athletic and fast, but there was, seems like he's a ways away. Givens, Kinlaw, Gregory, Chase Young, all free agents. So to me, that D line is a real question mark. And then they've got really a half dozen young DBs between Womack, Jair Brown, Ambry Thomas, Darrell Luter, Diamador Lenore, Talanoa Hufanga. And they got 6 young DBs that they really, I think, all have talent, and they really need to develop those 6 young DBs somehow, some way. So anyway, it was a great year. They got into the biggest game of the year, which is what I wanted. I wanted to see them get into the Super Bowl and have the thing, go and go and go and go. And sure enough, it did. But it just, tonight's bitter. Tonight is a bitter defeat for sure. Danny, tell us when you're going to be on NorCal Sports Network again and how people can go and find you.
Yeah, we'll be on tomorrow night, 8:30, NorCal Sports Network. Check us out. We're the one with the flag, the California flag with the logo. There's another NorCal Sports something else, but we're NorCal Sports Network with the California flag as the logo. Check us out. We're covering Giants, doing the Niners, we're doing Warriors, but we cover a lot on the San Francisco Giants since nobody else is willing to take on the drudgery. It's not an easy topic to talk about, the Giants, but we're trying. I got this final thought on this, Larry. I mean, it's too early to decide what needs to be done in the offseason with the Niners, but my concern is, keeping the team together as you have to pay an Ayuk and pay other guys. I love Debo. He's a difference maker when he's healthy. I just wonder if his style of play is more of you got to kind of do maintenance with him, give him a couple games off a year, more or less, like 3 or 4 buys, because he plays so physical that he's beat up by the end of the year. And the Niners are a perennial playoff team right now. And you want to have him at his peak, and he just gets injured a lot because of his physicality. I'm wondering if you think it would be wiser. I mean, it's a pretty deep draft coming up with wide receivers. I mean, you got Marvin Harrison is going to be one of the top picks in the draft, but you got Neighbors from LSU, you got Adunye's from Washington, Coleman out there at Florida State, Franklin from Oregon, Mitchell, Texas. There's a lot of receivers that you could probably pick up in this. There might be somebody there in the second round if you go tackle, pick up a receiver, maybe you do what the Chiefs did. They traded Tyreek Hill, and they did it with knowing that they couldn't afford him. I mean, you can only afford so many stars, right? With an NFL cap. I'm just thinking, maybe if you can get a really good draft pick, if you could get a 1 and a 3, or I'd even take a 1 and a 5 for Debo. If you could get that, draft a young wide receiver that is, a real wide receiver that is, along the lines, that's a great guy that can get up and grab the balls. Adunye's, that guy's with Washington was just open all the time. The games I saw with Washington, I'd like to see if that would be a better way to go in the long run, because I don't know how long you can keep this team together, because you're going to have to pay Purdy after next year, right? Let's see. Next year's is year 3. So, yeah, he's got 4 years, got a 4-year contract. So you got him on the cheap for basically 2 more years. You got Ayuk for 1 more year. I want to see him go for it. I would love to see him go after Chris Jones. I'd get creative and try and do that move. That would be my first priority in the offseason. I would move off of Armstead, even though I love Eric Armstead. He's getting up in age, and he's he's not available a lot because of that plantar fasciitis, and that's not going to go away. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I would consider all of it. You got to find some guys who are game wreckers on your defensive line. There's no question. They need some guys, and there's some good players in this draft. You need an offensive tackle badly, and you have Ayuk, and you've got some other receivers there. Debo's unique because he's such a, he's so, he's a great player, and when he's healthy, he's really a difference maker. But he's a run through you kind of a guy, and you kind of wonder about the long term health of anybody whose job it is to kind of run through you. I'm not a Rome Odunze fan. I mean, I like Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison at the top of the draft, Brian Thomas. After that, I mean, I like Xavier Legette and Devontae Walker, Malachi Corley. There's some interesting players in the draft. I don't know if I see a Debo in there, but yeah, I mean, they're to me, the big question for the 49ers is, who's the best tackle they can get? I mean, Joe Alt, Feliciano from Penn State, Fuaga from Oregon State, J.C. Latham from Alabama, Marius Mims from Georgia. I think all those guys are going in the first round for sure. The Niners are probably going to be staring at Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. And a couple other guys, Patrick Paul from the University of Houston, big 6'7" offensive lineman, Graham Barton from Duke. But the guy that I kind of like is Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. So we'll see. Guyton's projected to go 27th in the first round. They're going to have, the 31st pick in the round. So he's in their neighborhood, but we'll see if he's there for them, or if they wind up trading, as you say, a veteran player to get that mid first round pick, which they could do. They could go in that direction.
Who do you think would be in that category?
Well, I mean, J.C. Latham is the guy that is, to me, the guy that, is, if you said, give me a player that is absolutely the perfect player for the Niners, I would say J.C. Latham. He played right tackle at Alabama. He's an absolute blue chipper. I mean, he's 6'6", he's 335. He's 21 years of age.
But I mean, what player do you see of the Niners if they were to move off a vet that would bring them a mid first round pick? Who do you think that would they would be willing to give up?
You would have to be probably Ayuk or Debo.
I think I'd keep Ayuk if I was having to pick between one or the other. I just think Ayuk's he's more of a threat as a wide receiver. Debo, is great. I mean, we saw him against Philadelphia, had an unbelievable game, but he doesn't have the separation abilities, and we saw it again tonight. He wasn't open. I mean, he's not open a lot in big games when he faces a strong cover team. Chiefs had
they need one more dynamic weapon.
Yeah,
somebody who's either a dynamic running back or dynamic wide receiver.
I think Danny Gray was supposed to be that, right, when they drafted him,
right?
But he hasn't showed up yet,
right? So I mean, they need
maybe he'll be like Kuminga. Maybe year 3 is the right year for Danny Gray. Maybe the game slows down for him next year. Maybe he picks it up. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
they need some dynamic playmaker on offense, but they really just need to be better on the line of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line. They even probably have enough good young corners, but they got to get better on the line of scrimmage. They got to get better. They got to get better on the line of scrimmage somehow, some way. They got to bulk up their offensive tackle. I mean, the offensive tackle is very much a need position. But then if they wind up losing a lot of their D linemen, it's going to be really important that they draft well there. So, they're going to need probably going to have to invest a first round pick in an offensive tackle, and then they're going to need defensive linemen.
Wow.
So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. All right, Danny, good stuff, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Larry. Have a
There you go. The Dan Coachemilio Extravaganza, NorCal Sports Network. Chef says, first round pick, Darius Robinson from Missouri. Second round pick, best offensive lineman available. Trade one of our thirds if necessary to move up. I could see that. I love Darius Robinson. I saw him at in Mobile this year. Big 295-pound base defensive end who can play tackle, and he's really good. He's really, really good. And as far as offensive line, I like Javon Foster. I kind of like Ladarius Henderson from Michigan. I like is it Christian Young, I believe, from Texas. All those guys, talking about guys probably in the second round. Andrew Martinez. Larry, remember that stat about the losing quarterbacks you were talking about? God, no, I actually don't. I've looked at so many things. I've gone through such an emotional whirlwind today of watching the Super Bowl, hoping for the title, not getting it, that I've forgotten any and all stats that I used in the pregame. So sorry if I disappointing you. There you go. We got this one. Draft Jerry Rice's kid, Brendan Rice. He's 6'3", 210, and runs 4.38. He does not run 4.38. He probably runs 4.58. But I'd still take him. I just wouldn't take him. If he runs 4.38, then you take him in the first round at that size. I don't think he's going to run 4.38. I think he's going to run closer to 4.5. But who cares? He's a proven player. He's a good player. He's definitely one of the wide receivers I would be interested in this draft. Love Brendan Rice. I love the way he plays. He acts like every ball is intended for him. Really like him. Really like him. I'm thinking late third round for Brendan Rice. All right, I'm going to do a ton on the draft, as you guys know, this spring. So we'll get into all that stuff in great detail. A little too early for that, but I know everybody wants to fast forward to the draft anytime they lose the Super Bowl. But hey, thanks to everybody. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to our brand new sponsors during Super Bowl week, Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, right there in the Monterey Peninsula. Give Anthony Catania a call. He's a buddy, 831-521-5264. And also check out valleyhillroofing.net. They are a Go Green roofer and one that I absolutely trust. 209-481-6351 in both valleyhillroofing.net and Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles websites are linked in the description. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show all season long, man. We have had such a great job this year and had so much fun bringing you guys face to face with many of the players, building up the channel. We're at 38,767. We were hoping to get to 40,000 by Super Bowl Sunday, so it didn't quite happen for us. But thank you to everybody who has supported the channel. Once again, 38,767 total subscribers. Just an amazing amount of support. We outdid KMBR's post-game show tonight, which is impressive considering everything that they have going on over there. We've had 4.8 million views of Krug Show videos and live streams in the last 4 weeks alone. So that's an incredible number. We've had 415,000 watch time hours in the last 4 weeks alone. We've added over 5,000 subscribers in the last 4 weeks alone. So, I mean, absolutely monster. I can't thank all you guys enough. As I said, 38,769. If you're one of the 1,700 people still hanging in the room on this post-game show and you've yet to hit like and subscribe, please do. If you hit like, of course, all this is free, but if you hit like, that just helps more people find our shows in the algorithm, really helps grow the show. And then if you hit subscribe and hit that notification bell, it's also free. Just every time we go live, you'll get a little alert saying that we're going live, or every time we put out a video, you'll get a little alert saying that, hey, we've put out a video. And it would be awesome if you could support the channel. We really would appreciate it. Great. greatly. And thanks to everybody who has supported the channel this year and last year. I never thought 2 years ago when I started this channel that, and we started this channel like March 1st of 2022. We're coming up on March 1st of 2024. In what, 2.5 weeks? And we're sitting here at 38,772 subs. 38,772. So it's been an amazing outpouring of support. I just can't even tell you how appreciative I am for all of you guys and how much fun I've had this year working with Kev, working with all of you guys, working with the people that I stream with, really has been a lot of fun. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for making this, an awful lot of fun. Mitchell and Ness says, I've been watching Larry since he had 2,000 subs. There you go. We're at 38,772. 38,000. I mean, to me, it's an amazing number of people. Like more people are subscribed to my YouTube channel than will show up at a Giants game probably all year. And that to me is amazing. But anyway, thanks to everybody. We'll put out more content as the off season progresses. Tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for Damon and I with our wake up look back at the Super Bowl. These are tough shows to get through. It's kind of a bummer. Obviously, we didn't want this result. We wanted the alternative, which was a win. But thanks to all you guys for supporting the channel all year long. I appreciate every single one of you guys, and have a great night. Go Niners. And sorry the Niners didn't get the championship. Hopefully next year is a better year. We'll have a lot of fun covering it. And until then, peace. We are out.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon'